Chapter 1939. The star field was dazzling, and the ancient life star in the core area was filled with Emperor's heavenly might. In an instant, this ancient life star was no longer small. It was billions of times more majestic, like an Emperor's star that illuminated the heavens. It surged with endless divine might, suppressing the universe and seizing the fortune of heaven and earth. Mu-Exayan knew a bit about it and said, "It is said that this planet used to be the place where immortal kings proved their Tao in ancient times. Over time, this planet turned into an emperor planet. It floated in the Immortals' Cave and was listed as the core area. From this, one could see how much the Sien people paid to build the Heaven's Cave. One could also see the determination to build the Heaven's Cave. In order to cultivate the strongest seed in the immortal world during the Great War of Immortals and Demons, they used such a terrifying method to build the Heaven's Cave, ensuring that generations of invincible young gods of war would come out. At the same time, the Emperor Star's vast divine might could easily seal the heavens and the earth. It could also ensure that people like the princess could seal themselves for a long time without exhausting their potential. In short, this Emperor Star was the core of the Heaven's Cave. Stepping on the Emperor Star was like standing at the peak of the Great Tao. The three of them were shining brightly. This was an invisible baptism that made their bodies even purer. Standing on the Emperor Star, Su Yen looked up at heaven and earth. This place was close to the Great Tao, so it was easy to comprehend it. Moreover, the order of heaven and earth here was even more terrifying and transcendent. Normally, Su Yen could shake off the suppression of the order of heaven and earth in the outside world, which was equivalent to an emperor erupting. However, he couldn't do it here. The Tao of heaven and earth was too domineering and supreme. A torrent flashed in Su Yan's heart. It was as if a spiritual light had suddenly appeared. His palm glowed, vaguely revealing the supreme mysteries of the heavenly palm. It was as if it was operating the heavens and the Emperor's Star, breaking the suppression and imprisonment of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Su Yen was moved. This place was very helpful for comprehending the heavenly palm. He planned to cultivate here for a while. The benefits were obvious. Although Su Yen refused to acknowledge the core seed of the Heaven's Cave, the Chaos Immortal Elder had said that Su Yen could enjoy the treatment of the strongest seed. He could explore the great fortune lands and cultivate in the top secret palace. Temporary residence token? A group of guards rushed over and checked Su Yen and Baotsai's tokens. Their faces immediately sank. However, when their divine senses probed inside, their expressions became extremely strange. Although it was only a temporary residence token, they had all the authority. Su Yen, Tai Baokai, the guards were shocked. They agreed to let them in and didn't stop Mu-Exayan. However, they warned Mu-Exayan not to run around. Without an identity medallion, she could easily be killed if she accidentally entered important areas. 1,000,000 points, this kid is so lucky. As they waited for Su Yen and the others to leave, the guards were left dumbfounded. This wealth was too terrifying. Ordinary core disciples might not be able to accumulate 100,000 points even in 100 years. But Su Yen had just arrived at Immortal Grotto, and he had 1,000,000 points. That number really shocked them. On the Imperial planet, there were very few people in the outside world. Su Yen surveyed the surroundings, looking at one trial land after another, super cave abodes after another. This shocked him greatly. Although there were more than 30 fortune mountains in the Emperor's repository Tao Cave. But on the Imperial planet, every secret palace that was discovered in the outside world would cause a bloody battle between powerful races. It was too valuable. After all, the Immortal Grotto had accumulated wealth over a long period of time. The Imperial planet was worthy of being called a place of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Many super cave abodes could be called supreme secret palaces. Su Yen, look, the Immortal King Cave! Baokai exclaimed. He saw a supreme cave abode surrounded by supreme laws. It was simply a cave abode that gave birth to an immortal king. It exuded an ocean-like life aura, surging violently. Dragon caves, phoenix nests, and so on could be seen. Any one of them was a super cave abode. There were also some supreme cave abodes that were formed by seizing the fortune of heaven and earth. Some cave abodes were filled with the aura of the beginning of heaven and earth. Their age was hard to imagine. Su Yen felt that it was inconceivable. The immortal grotto's foundation was too shocking. With such a strong foundation, it should be enough to create several emperor races, right? Su Yen thought to himself. Many of the supreme cave abodes could not be used by people of their level. After all, it was too wasteful. Even Mu Xian's eyes widened. She was very clear about these supreme cave abode. However, she whispered, Su Yen, all members of the Immortal Academy are qualified to use the Immortal Grotto Blessed Lands on the Imperial Planet. But these cave abodes can't be used without trying, Mu Xian said again. You need points, a lot of points. Although you have 1,000,000 points, if you want to use the Immortal Grotto and other places of fortune, you need to spend a huge amount of points every day. This surprised Su Yen. It seemed that the Immortal Grotto's points were too important. At the same time, he asked, where is the strongest Immortal Grotto on the Imperial Planet? He looked into the distance. Even though he used his heavenly eye to the extreme, he could only see a blur. However, one after another, the silhouettes of experts flashed in the chaos, isolating Su Yen from using his spiritual probing. It must be in the innermost area. It is said that the Imperial Planet's essence gathers there. Mu Xian said enviously. But there are special conditions to use these Immortal Grotto Blessed Lands. Not only do you need points, but you also need to win in the Immortal Demon battlefield. Moreover, according to what I know, the Empress and a group of ancient overlords have been sealed in here and are sleeping. No wonder they weren't willing to leave. Bao Cai's eyes widened. Su Yen, if you were to sleep in the Emperor's Tao lair for millions of years, wouldn't you have endless resources and potential? No matter how strong you are, there is still a limit. Su Yen replied. After exploring the ultimate land of refinement, he was very clear that there were some things that could not be given by resources or fortune. I see it. It's in front. Mu Xian smiled sweetly. Her big eyes were clear and sparkling as she pointed at a huge stone stele in front of them. Su Yen originally thought that they would have to go to the treasury to choose, but who knew that it would be a huge stone stele? They quickly walked over and took out their identity tokens. After activating them, they rushed into the stone stele. The stone stele lit up and poured out a soul force, guiding the power of their primordial spirits into the stone stele. Mu Xian tugged at Su Yan's sleeve. Su Yan hurriedly wrapped Mu Xian's spiritual power, including Big Goldie's. I'm suffocating. Big Goldie was depressed. He had been hiding in the furnace of suppression all day and was about to go crazy. The next moment, he was shocked and cried out, Su Yen, what is this place? This golden mother stone, myriad Tao stone, millions of years of earth milk, branches and leaves of the firmament tree, exquisite stone heart, Tao bamboo marrow. Heavens, Su Yen, what is this place? Is this the treasury of the human world? Big Goldie went crazy and shouted. He was almost drooling. These natural treasures were extremely precious. Normally, if one wanted to dig them out of the treasures of heaven and earth, they would have to wait for a long time. But in this space of the stone stele, there was a sea of treasures in front of them. At this moment, Big Goldie really wanted to rob the entire treasury. He would definitely become the richest person in the world. The space of the stone stele was huge. There were huge door worlds one after another. There were treasures, stones, strange objects, secret techniques, heavenly techniques, supernatural powers, treasures. Big Goldie broke into the stone category and kept shouting. Isn't this too crazy? Bao Cai shouted, Su Yen, look, Immortal King True Dragon Blood, Immortal King Kuan Pung True Dragon Blood, Immortal King Vermilion Bird Blood. Bao Cai's eyes were red. He was so excited that he was about to faint. This was the foundation of the immortal cave. As long as he had enough points, he could get as much as he wanted. It smells so good. Baokai grinned. They didn't have a good impression of the immortal cave, but they were really jealous of the treasures in the treasury. Even the immortal king couldn't sit still when he saw them. Mu Xian squinted her big eyes and laughed excitedly. She was here to open her eyes. In short, every treasury was all-inclusive and contained all kinds of rare treasures. Any rare item would be fought over by all parties in the outside world. But in here they were like cabbages, innumerable. Su Yan's heart also beat faster. The materials needed for the next stage of the humanoid puppet's evolution could be gathered directly. He even estimated that he could gather the materials for the next stage. This was really enough to make people go crazy. No wonder everyone was jealous of 1,000,000 points. Damn, what the hell? Baotsai's big fat face collapsed. He growled, a drop of true dragon blood costs 20,000 points. Although Baokai had a huge sum of 300,000 points, the points needed for important things were too high. For example, Big Goldie was jealous of a piece of mother of gold, but this piece of stone only weighed 500 grams and required 120,000 points, not to mention other precious stones. 1,000,000 points seemed a lot, but in fact, it was not enough to exchange for the top treasures. Mu Xian, how can I get a lot of points? Su Yan asked. Do the task and go through the levels. Mu Xian was stunned and then said, it seems that it takes a long time to accumulate 100,000 points, let alone 1,000,000 points. And some trials have examples of death. In general, the more dangerous the trial ground was, the more points one could get by passing it. But to accumulate 1,000,000 points? How could it be done in a short time? In fact, the biggest purpose of the Immortal Cave was to attract the core players to go through the levels. The more potential one had, the more resources one could get. Therefore, there was no hope to exchange for the top resources in large quantities. Of course, the fastest way to get points was to participate in the Immortal Demon War. One victory could get 10,000,000 points. But Mu Xian knew that some of the most difficult levels in the Immortal Cave gave a considerable amount of points, but the difficulty was too high. It was even said that if one could break the record, they could get millions of points. But these records were held by the princesses and the others. Even if an elite hero wanted to break them, the chances were slim. Su Yan took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. At present, Su Yan did not need any treasures. He had the universal treasure liquid to grow to the Emperor realm. Although the treasures in the sky were tempting, there were very few that could help him now. Su Yan exchanged for the Mother of Gold and handed it to Big Goldie. Big Goldie needed it to heal his injuries. Once a metal creature was injured, it needed treasures of the same level. Su Yan opened the treasures category and gasped in amazement. Any treasure here required a frightening amount of points. There were even Immortal King weapons, but the points required were in the tens of millions. There were also mystiques and mystique. In this series of treasures, the mystiques also required a lot of points. They were not one-time use. Viewing them for a day required tens of thousands of points. He even saw the mark of an Immortal King. Viewing it for a day required 100,000 points. This caused Su Yan to be dumbfounded. This was a little ridiculous, but these were the ultimate mystiques in the Immortal Cave. It would be strange if they were not expensive. Su Yan's heart could not take it, and he quickly extinguished the thought. He had the Emperor Suppression Art and the Epic Severing with a single sword. These ultimate techniques protected him, and he did not need any other ultimate mystique. Physical techniques? Su Yan suddenly found a treasure trove. It was very small. Physical techniques for the physical body? Su Yan looked around expectantly. There were only a dozen mystiques here. The most frightening physical technique mystique in the lead shocked Su Yan. Unparalleled dragon wrestling art. Su Yan's eyes blazed. Viewing it for a day required 100,000 points. This meant that this heaven technique was on the same level as the mark of an immortal king. Chapter 1940. Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique. Body Technique, the ultimate technique of the body cultivator lineage. This is the first time I've come into contact with this kind of supernatural power. Su Yen thought to himself. This was one of the few ultimate supernatural powers in the Immortal Cave Body Technique's treasure trove. Su Yen had wandered the #1 mountain in the world. In the ultimate land of refinement, he had comprehended the supreme mysteries of the initial sutra. Then, he had furthered his studies in the Copper Palace. Without a doubt, Su Yan's achievements in the field of the physical body were already very high. If he had a shocking body technique to complement it, he would be like a tiger that had grown wings. The war of immortals and demons was about to begin. This time, the dark world was coming aggressively. Su Yen had no choice but to be on guard. He prepared to cultivate the Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique to strengthen his physical body. Observing it for a day required 100,000 points. This was not a small number. Moreover, it was naturally difficult to comprehend this kind of inheritance in a short period of time. Immediately after, Su Yen exchanged for the materials needed for the next stage of the humanoid puppet's evolution. After exchanging, Su Yen discovered that he was only missing a type of material to evolve the puppet to its ultimate form. This made Su Yan's heartbeat accelerate. Similarly, this was only a repair. Then, the wealth needed to forge the humanoid puppet? It was hard to imagine how vast it would be. At the same time, it also indicated how powerful the human world was in the past. 1,000,000 points. Su Yan's face darkened. He only had 200,000 points left. He could only observe the Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique for 2 days. Su Yen also decisively exchanged for it. It had to be known that the evolution of the humanoid puppet cost a total of 600,000 points. As for Baokai, he had basically used up all 300,000 points. All of them were exchanged for various types of immortal king blood. A large number of materials floated out from the stone tablet. Su Yen hurriedly took out a void bag and put them away. He also obtained a Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique observation token. There were a total of 2 tokens, each representing 1 day. Su Yen, quickly lend me tens of thousands of points. I want to exchange for a drop of golden rock immortal king blood. Baokai shouted. He had exchanged all his points for immortal king blood, preparing to further strengthen his bloodline. Su Yen was a little speechless. He only had 30,000 points left, which satisfied Baocai's wish. Points, I must find a way to get a lot of points. Su Yen, how can you spend them so quickly? You've spent 1,000,000 points. Baokai seemed very manic. He wanted to exchange for a set of Immortal King's weapon. He wanted to be armed to the teeth. However, if he really wanted to create a set, it would be impossible without hundreds of millions of points. Baokai was undoubtedly dreaming. I've exchanged for the Supreme Fighting Dragon Technique. Su Yen smiled. I didn't expect that the deity's cave's ultimate divine ability would require such a method to obtain. Baokai's eyes were burning with desire, but he did not have enough points. The fastest way to gain points is to participate in the Immortal Demon War. Mu Xian couldn't help but raise her chin and say with a smile, the second way is to explore the Immortal Cave's major trial grounds, but the accumulation speed will be slower. In fact, Baokai of the Immortal's Cave was really too good. But at the same time, wouldn't he lose the most precious thing and be unable to continue growing? If Su Yen hadn't been taken care of by a Chaos Immortal Elder during the opening of the first mountain, he wouldn't have been qualified to stand on the Emperor planet and exchange points for a large number of treasures. I forgot to save some points, Baokai shouted. There were supreme secret caves in the core area for cultivation, but when he opened the Fortune Cave Abode category, he immediately fell silent. Su Yen was flabbergasted. Just the Immortal King Cave alone required 100,000 points to cultivate for a month. And this was only for a month. There were even places that were more expensive than that. Su Yen, 100,000 points isn't a lot. After all, there's a month of cultivation. Big Goldie looked at the Mother of Gold lovingly and said, "The daily operation of the Immortal King's cave requires a huge amount of resources, and the Immortal King has to spend a lot of effort to nourish the cave abode to prevent it from running out of resources. 100,000 points is not much. Moreover, there were all kinds of treasures inside. None of them were too expensive, but the price to spend outside was too high. Only the Emperor clan had the qualifications and resources to build a supreme cave abode. Even in the Immortal King clan, there was no hope of maintaining a cave abode for a long time, unless the clan had a huge amount of wealth. Su Yen, Tai Baokai. You must get a lot of points and learn these peerless skills. Goldie said in a low voice, Baokai, your beast god power has just been perfected. You can cultivate the Dragon Tiger Vajrasil, and control the Dragon Tiger Vajrasil to form the body of the Vajra beast god. This is an almost invincible great skill, and it's a famous secret technique in the immortal world. Baokai quickly found the Dragon Tiger Vajrasil in the stone tablet. This secret technique required even more points than the Supreme Dragon Seizing Art. 130,000 points per day. It wasn't that Su Yan's Supreme Dragon Seizing Art wasn't strong enough, but that it was difficult to cultivate. Many experts who chose it in the past gave up. After all, the body cultivator lineage had declined. I didn't expect the heaven, earth, and man three senses to also have it. Goldie said in surprise. This is an extremely ancient secret technique in the immortal world. The Immortal Caves collection is truly shocking. Su Yen, you must cultivate this technique. 200,000 points a day. Su Yen was taken aback. This was a bit outrageous. It's nothing. Not to mention 200,000 points, just 250,000 gene of immortal sources per day would be enough for all the clans in the outside world to fight over it. Goldie said excitedly, this is the perfect heaven, earth, and man three senses. Heaven opens the heavenly eye, man opens the heavenly phenomenon, and earth opens the divine feet. It's the peak speed of the rainbow transformation art. The heaven, earth, and man three senses were world-shaking. Goldie had heard of this technique a long time ago. Once Su Yen grasped the three senses technique, his battle prowess would instantly rise to a whole new level. However, it was extremely difficult to cultivate this secret technique. It contained a mysterious and unfathomable power. It could be said that it contained the greatest mysteries of secret techniques. Big Goldie also pointed out quite a few divine abilities, all of them extremely powerful and world-shocking. After looking for a while, Big Goldie shook his head and said, Immortal Old Academy's group of experts brought out such a huge enticement. No wonder Immortal Cavern was so popular when they tried to recruit disciples. It really is too enticing. It looked very beautiful in reality. The conditions to cultivate the top secret techniques were too harsh. Even the most outstanding talents might not be able to grasp them. Let's go all out and get more points. Baokai became more and more impatient. At this time, Su Yen noticed that a lethargic old cultivator had arrived. It looked like he was nearing the end of his life. He walked weakly and powerlessly, as if a gust of wind would blow him over. The old man who was about to enter the ground was slightly surprised when he noticed Baokai. He had never seen him before. Su Yen in the lead, in particular, made him feel stunned. Mu Xian's pretty face revealed a sweet smile. She bowed towards the old cultivator. This gray-robed old man had a slightly aged smile on his face. One had to know that in the core region of the Immortal Cave, any woman would have their eyes on the top of their head. Normally, they wouldn't look him in the eye. Mu Xian spoke softly. She was very well-mannered. She asked the old cultivator about the specific location of the Technique Inheritance Hall. The old cultivator pointed in the direction. Su Yan's Supreme Dragon Wrestling Art could only be comprehended in the Technique Inheritance Hall. The Heaven Art's secret technique was not allowed to be taken out at all. The gray-robed old cultivator watched them leave. His figure gradually became blurry, as if he had never appeared. Su Yen, what's wrong with you? On the way, Mu Xian saw that he had a lot on his mind. Su Yen glanced behind him and whispered, "That old senior just now was not simple. He made my heart palpitate a little. He's not someone to be trifled with." Mu Xian was stunned. "Then," she said, "some disciples of the Immortal Cave don't have enough potential. They basically choose to become the enforcers of the Immortal Cave. That old senior just now was probably a genius in the past." Su Yen nodded. After all, the Immortal Cave was the core of the immortal world. Being a member of it was enough to change the course of one's life. If one could become friends with an immortal elder, one could imagine their future. They would definitely live a life of glory and wealth. Gradually, they arrived at the Technique Inheritance Hall. This was an important area of the Imperial planet. There was a group of guards patrolling the gate. The Technique Inheritance Hall was very big and was heavily guarded both inside and outside. When Su Yen and his group arrived, these guards did not even ask any questions and directly opened the tightly shut door. However, who would have thought that there would be an extraordinary young man among them who pointed at Su Yen? His expression suddenly changed. "It's you." Su Yen was surprised and looked over. When enemies saw each other, their eyes turned red. Xian Hong's chest thundered, and he almost couldn't hold back from using force. But when he thought of Su Yan's achievements on the first mountain, Xian Hong felt like he had been punched. The Su Yan that he had once belittled and looked down on was now a famous peerless expert. He dominated the first mountain, and even the Tenrai of Beach was suppressed. "He's Su Yan. I didn't expect him to be so young." The people around them discussed. These guards all knew that Xian Hong had been beaten up by Su Yan and had almost died in the royal city. But now, Su Yan was no longer the Su Yan of the past. "What, do you want to do it again?" Su Yan asked. Xian Hong felt a chill in his heart, but he still said stubbornly, "Su Yan, didn't you say you wouldn't enter the Immortal Cave? Why are you here licking your face again?" "Just becoming a core disciple isn't good enough for me," Su Yan replied. This made Xian Hong flush. That's right, those who passed the first mountain were the most powerful seeded contestant. Xian Hong was only a past genius, and his status was much lower than Su Yan's. Xian Hong gnashed his teeth and glared at Su Yan. He really wanted to kill him. Su Yan snorted and stepped into the Technique Inheritance Hall. He took out the command medallion. He took it out and handed it to a steward. The steward was shocked. This was the highest level of command medallion. He didn't have the qualifications to take Su Yan to receive the inheritance, so he could only ask the Technique Inheritance Hall master. Soon, an old expert with a terrifying aura arrived. This made Su Yan's face turn dark. The Immortal Cave was so big, why did he always run into acquaintances? "Little friend, long time no see. I've missed you." Xian Zhisheng smiled and looked down at Su Yan. His old face was like a blooming chrysanthemum, and his smile was quite brilliant. After all, this was a taboo expert, a deacon of the Immortal Elder Academy. His status was second only to Elder Xian, and he was also one of the vice masters in charge of the Technique Inheritance Hall. He had great authority in the Immortal Cave. Back then, he was scared away by the old monkey, and this matter had always been in his heart. The steward handed the medallion to Xian Zhisheng. According to the rules, he could open the strongest Technique Inheritance Hall. "Only one medallion?" Xian Zhisheng asked doubtfully. The steward was stunned. He scratched his head and braced himself. "It's real." Su Yan's face twitched. This old thing wouldn't suspect that his medallion was fake, right? "I know it's real." Xian Zhisheng's voice was cold, making the steward's heart turn cold. He didn't know what was missing. "Return the medallion." Xian Zhisheng looked like he was doing something serious. He waved his hand coldly and said, "This is against the rules." Don't go too far. Su Yan's eyes widened. This old thing was going to make things difficult for him? How dare you? This is not King City. How dare you be disrespectful to me? Xian Zhixing's eyes shot out two cold bolts of lightning. His aura suddenly became much more terrifying. A Dharma form that was hundreds of millions of feet long vaguely appeared behind him. It was hazy with a taboo ocean. It was so terrifying that it could tear the universe apart. Baokai and Mu Xian's hearts tightened, and they almost flew out. After all, this was a taboo expert. His aura was many times stronger than an Emperor Realm expert. The atmosphere in the Technique Inheritance Hall was extremely oppressive. What's against the rules? Say it out loud? I'm all ears. Su Yan was angry. He had the furnace of suppression to protect him, so he wouldn't be suppressed. Haha, Su Yan, I just reminded you of the Immortal Cave. This is not King City. Xian Zhixing said with a cold face. What right do you have to cultivate the strongest inheritance of the Immortal Cave? Don't forget that you're not a peerless genius of the Immortal Cave. This is a privilege given to me by the Immortal Elder of Chaos, Su Yan shouted. Are you questioning me or the Immortal Elder of Chaos? The Immortal Elder of Chaos was just careless. Don't pretend to be confused. Do you have to force me to speak clearly? Xian Zhixing's words were very direct. Baokai was furious. This was clearly telling them that they came from the human world and couldn't get the strongest inheritance of the Immortal Cave. He was treating them as thieves and guarding against them. You're too much of a bully, Mu Xian said angrily. Su Yan has the token, and you're hiding it from me. I'll report you to the Immortal Elder Academy. Ha ha ha, this is ridiculous. I'm the deacon of the Immortal Elder Academy. Come and report me. Xian Zhixing laughed and ignored this little girl. He believed that the Immortal Elders of the Immortal Elder Academy wouldn't be stupid enough to give the strongest inheritance to Su Yan. Su Yan, you're not one of the top 10 participants. What right do you have to occupy the strongest resources of the Immortal Cave? Xian Zhixing's words became more and more unpleasant. There's one more thing. The Immortal Elder must have been careless. The Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique must be broken through the Celestial Dragon Realm. But you can't even pass this level. What right do you have to cultivate the Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique? So you chose the Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique. Su Yan, you're really confident. Xian Hong sneered. Do you know what kind of secret technique this is? Do you know what the Celestial Dragon Realm is? Even the Celestial Dipper King isn't qualified to cultivate it. And looking at the entire Immortal Cave, there are very few who can break the Celestial Dragon Realm. It was common knowledge that some of the Immortals Cave's ultimate techniques had to be passed through some special checkpoints and trial grounds before one could cultivate them. The restriction was very big. This also showed that the points needed to observe the Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique weren't that high. The Celestial Dragon Realm was also one of the most difficult areas of the Immortal Cave. There were too few who broke through it. If they couldn't pass it, they wouldn't have the qualifications to exchange for a divine ability. The reason why the Immortal Elder opened Su Yan's authority was that as long as he broke through the first mountain's ultimate trial. That makes sense. Xian Zhixing sneered. Su Yan didn't break the Celestial Dragon Realm at all. What right did he have to enjoy such high-end treatment? Chapter 1941. Su Yan held the token in his hand and turned to leave. Xian Zhixing was surprised that Su Yan turned around and left. He thought he would make a big fuss and ask a Chaos Immortal Elder to speak for Su Yan. Su Yan would not trouble others easily. Wasn't it just passing through the Celestial Dragon Realm? He would just go and see what they would say when the time came. Why are you leaving? Xian Zhixing was not satisfied. He said with a gloomy tone, Don't you have someone behind you? Why don't you call them out and let me see? In Immortal Elder Academy, the various Immortal Elders all grasped heaven overflowing authority. The Chaos Immortal Elder was in charge of transferring all of the resources and secret realms outside Immortal Cave. On the contrary, the one who kept Technique Inheritance Hall in check was another Immortal Elder. He believed that this Immortal Elder would not let Su Yen master the Immortal World's peerless techniques so easily. Reality was so cruel. Su Yan's eyes flashed coldly. He looked sideways and shouted, "Old thing, don't go too far." "How dare you!" The group of guards flew into a rage. Su Yen actually dared to shout at the Deputy Palace Master in such a manner. He was truly daring. "How dare you!" Xian Zhixing was also furious. He pointed at Su Yen and said, "You little thing, don't think you can behave atrociously in the Immortal Cave just because you have some achievements. If you didn't have Phoenix King and the others behind you, you would have died 7 or 8 times already. I can't take it anymore." Bao Kai was so angry that his face changed. This old thing was too much. He threatened Su Yen so blatantly. Did he really think they would be afraid of a forbidden expert? "You old thing, you want to make things difficult for me?" Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind. His aura was unusually cold. He shouted, "It's not that I look down on you, but you are not qualified. Su Yen, how dare you disrespect the Deputy Hall Master of the Technique Hall when you are only temporarily staying in the Immortal Cave?" Xian Hong was furious and walked over with a baleful aura. Now, there was no one to help Su Yen increase his magic power, right? After all, this person was a top-grade ruler. He forced himself towards Su Yen and looked down at him from above. He reprimanded loudly, "If this is a crime, it's not a small one. Apologize to me immediately, or I'll make sure that you won't be able to leave the Skill Inheritance Hall." "Loser." Su Yan's eyes flashed with a bone-chilling coldness. He said disdainfully, "You dare to jump out and show off? Have you forgotten the pain of that year? Now you want to do it again? I can fulfill your wish." "Su Yen, you're too audacious. You were rude to the Deputy Hall Master, and now you're disrespectful to the enforcers." Xian Hong let out an angry roar, and the aura that had been dormant in his body surged. The laws of the Sovereign Tao appeared in the world, and a huge Dharma Laksana true body appeared in the sky, covering Su Yen. This attack was very powerful. Xian Hong directly erupted with his strongest battle strength, wanting to suppress Su Yen. "Roar!" Bao Kai roared into the sky, and the aura of the King of Beasts rose from its body. Suddenly, it carried Su Yen and charged toward Xian Hong. The aura of the man and the horse was extremely powerful, surging with a terrifying majesty. They emitted an unparalleled spiritual aura, tearing the sky and splitting the sea. They bombarded the space and time, causing it to tremble. Right in front, a large number of guards were shocked. It was as if they were standing in a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood, standing in a spiritual purgatory. A hint of fear rose in their hearts, and they wanted to kneel down and worship them. How is this possible? They were out of control. These were the absolute overlords who had passed through the first mountain. Su Yen and Bao Kai were the strongest among the strongest. They were the absolute overlords who looked down on their peers. Now, when the two of them joined forces to attack, the entire area turned dark. It was as if a slumbering demon lord had been resurrected. Boom! Bao Kai trampled the sky, and the shadows of beasts filled the sky. The moment Su Yen unleashed his attack, blood soared into the sky from the collapsed imperial laws of order. It instantly covered the entire Technique Inheritance Hall and emitted a domineering aura that seemed to belong to none other than him. Just this punch alone had smashed the universe and destroyed the Emperor's Tao laws. In an instant, it bombarded forward. Xian Hong was terrified and his heart sank. What kind of power was this? He tried to use secret treasures to resist, but it was useless because his whole body was locked, and it was difficult for him to move. Moreover, the Emperor's Tao laws that he used were destroyed. The terrifying punch landed on Xian Hong's chest. He trembled, and his whole chest burst open, and a bloody hole appeared. Xian Hong screamed and fell to the ground. His body was crippled and his eyes turned black. He fainted. What? Xian Zhixing was furious. Terrifying beams of light shot out from his eyes like a terrifying lion. Xian Hong was directly injured by Su Yan's punch and fainted. This was too humiliating. Trash, you've lost all my face. Xian Zhixing was so angry that his heart and lungs were trembling. He also instantly raised a big hand and charged at Su Yan. The entire giant palm was surrounded by the forbidden laws, and it could easily destroy the world. One man and one horse, the horse stepped into the sky, and his majestic appearance shocked the world. The forbidden palm pressed down and slapped Su Yan's flesh shell. In an instant, it caused his body to resonate. In particular, his heart awakened an ancient dragon-like aura, causing the entire space to tremble. Even a corner of the Emperor's star was shaking. Boom! A black divine furnace was awakened, and it was filled with the power of domain suppression. The forbidden power in the sky collapsed. Su Yan and Baokai worked together to awaken the furnace of domain suppression. This supreme treasure steamed with the aura of an immortal king, and it was so terrifying that it could destroy the forbidden giants. Bang! The entire forbidden palm was torn apart. The pitch-black divine furnace shone, radiating terrifying energy ripples that surged so violently that the group of guards was about to be torn apart. After all, this was the Technique Inheritance Hall. It was protected by a supreme secret technique that isolated the energy fluctuations of the immortal king divine furnace. Even so, Xian Zhixing suffered a thunderous blow, and the void bloomed with bloody light. He screamed, and his hair was disheveled. He fell and smashed into a human-shaped pit. The group of guards was stunned. Xian Zhixing was severely injured. Su Yan was still controlling the immortal king divine furnace, and it was still emitting the power of domain suppression. The divine furnace seemed to have turned into a black star domain that was terrifying enough to devour all living beings in the universe. B***starred, Xian Zhixing screamed in pain. His eyes were about to split open. He didn't expect Su Yan to have such a powerful weapon. This was an immortal king weapon. Old thing, come out. I'll suppress you to death. Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind, and killing light shot out from his eyes. The furnace of domain suppression hung above his head, and he used the power of the immortal devil domain suppression sutra. He could easily destroy the universe and kill the forbidden experts. Baocai's blood boiled. An immortal king weapon was indeed an immortal king weapon. With this thing protecting them, as long as it wasn't an immortal king, no one could make things difficult for them. He really hoped that he could get one from the Immortal Cave's treasure vault in the future. Xian Zhixing was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. His arm was broken, and his eyes were spitting fire. As the deputy hall master of the Technique Inheritance Hall, when had he suffered such a big loss? What happened? The commotion was a little big. A large group of guards rushed over from the distant world. When they saw Xian Zhixing heavily injured, they were shocked. When they saw the furnace of domain suppression in Su Yan's hand, they were surprised. Who was this young man? This kid has no respect for the law. He wants to barge into the Technique Inheritance Hall. Xian Zhixing immediately put a big label on Su Yan. He wanted the law enforcers of the Imperial Planet to suppress Su Yan and asked for an immortal king weapon. These guards obviously didn't believe Xian Zhixing's words, unless Su Yan had gone crazy. Su Yan? When these guards checked Su Yan's identity token, their faces were a little strange. Baocai was a great monster who climbed the first mountain. Mu Xian was the descendant of the Phoenix King. She had already recorded what had happened in a starry sky scroll and showed it to them. These guards were speechless. What was going on? Xian Zhixing attacked Su Yan, but he had activated the furnace of domain suppression in his heart. Xian Zhixing's face was pale. He had suffered such a big loss. Could he only bear it by himself? Su Yan, Tiangang King went to find you before, but it seems that you didn't meet. A powerful guard walked out. He was a former disciple of a Chaos Immortal elder. He reminded him, "I heard that your people are in big trouble. Thank you for telling me." Su Yan's face fell. Before the mysterious skeleton went into hibernation, it told them not to expose too much of Burying Heaven Cave's secret technique. The most important thing was Xixia Fairy. If the reincarnation imperial family really found out that he had something to do with Celestial Tyrant Emperor's death, Xixia Fairy's inheritance would be exposed. Tiangang King was here. He was very famous in the core area. He had climbed the first mountain and participated in the Great War of Immortals and Demons. There was no need to mention how important this person was. He had been in the Great Sage Realm for a very long time, and was definitely stronger and more powerful than King Tiangang back then. Where is Heaven's Equal Sage King? Tiangang King searched everywhere but couldn't find him. The people of the lower realm were very fierce. Su Yan and Baokai both climbed the first mountain. This made Jie of the fairy cave unable to sit still. He wanted to come out and suppress them. Don't think that you are invincible just because you climbed the first mountain. Without a doubt, Tiangang King's appearance caused a big reaction. They all felt that it was reasonable to take action and intimidate them. They wanted to let them know what kind of place the fairy cave was. Even the powerful dragons of the mortal realm had to bow down. Very good move. Ha ha ha, the people of the mortal realm can't do it. This area was very lively. Many disciples in the outer area clapped their hands and cheered. There were also men who said with admiration, "Fairy Monli, you are becoming more and more stunning. You suppressed the woman of the lower realm without opening your heaven's eye and even took away the heavenly star bead." Luan Monli was the proud daughter of the reincarnation imperial family. She was also good friends with Starry Night. Her expression was cold and arrogant. A forbidden treasure woven from 10,000 stars floated in her palm. She looked down at Bamboo Moon from high above. She originally wanted to slap her and humiliate her, but she didn't expect her to dodge. Actually, this woman is really not bad. Her appearance is much more stunning than Luan Monli's. She can be compared to the 10 beauties. There were also some small groups who were discussing in low voices. They were very excited. In my opinion, we should let Su Yan and the others scram. These women can definitely become precious treasures of the fairy world. Haha, Dao Brothers' words are very reasonable. This group of small groups discussed excitedly. Their gazes were fixed on the dignified and beautiful Bamboo Moon. There were even some women who screamed incessantly, hoping that Luan Monli would ruthlessly destroy the beauty and beat Bamboo Moon up. They were jealous of Bamboo Moon's appearance. So boring! Luan Monli sneered. She was not afraid of Su Yan at all. She pointed at Fairy Xixia and said, "And you? Come, I will only use one hand." Fairy Xixia was very angry. She couldn't be as calm as Bamboo Moon. She wanted her to pretend to admit defeat and surrender? Lose to such a woman? Chapter 1942. What? You don't dare? Are you scared? Luan Monli smiled brightly, and her expression became more and more proud. She thought it would be a fierce battle, but she didn't expect to suppress Bamboo Moon so easily. This made her very happy. More and more people gathered in this area. Most of them were outer disciples of the Immortals Cave, but there were also core disciples around, exuding a strong aura. She's too timid. She gave in before the battle even started. Some people despised her, which caused a roar of laughter. They didn't mind watching the fun, but some people secretly frowned. Bullying the weak was not in line with the practice of the Immortals Cave. Bamboo Moon and Xixia Fairy only had the opportunity to cultivate in the Immortals Cave for 10 years. They weren't disciples of the Immortals Cave at all. However, Luan Monli was not an ordinary person, and no one dared to stand up for Bamboo Moon. Besides, Su Yan's presence couldn't help. Tiangang King was here for him, and he said he wanted to take his thunder away. If you're scared, just give up. Luan Monli's attitude was aggressive. She pointed at Bamboo Moon and said in a sharp tone, "Silence won't do. Aren't the people of the human world very arrogant? You caused such a big storm in King City. Why did you come to the Immortals' Cave and pretend to be mute? Even Su Yen avoided meeting you. You're just a group of paper tigers." Crackle, crackle! Xixia Fairy couldn't bear it anymore. She clenched her fists and gritted her teeth in anger. There was a faint, terrifying sword aura leaking out from her body. Angry? Luan Monli wore a green dress and had a graceful figure. She laughed strangely and said, "What's the use of being angry? If you're not strong enough, just give up and I'll consider letting you go so you won't suffer so much." Bamboo Moon sighed faintly. She was as calm as a real fairy, and her starry eyes dimmed. She said to Xixia, "The Immortals' Cave is very different from what we imagined. I didn't expect that there would be people who bully the weak and have such a rude and aggressive attitude. The environment here is really terrible and it doesn't match the rumors." This sentence shocked many people in the Immortals' Cave, especially Luan Monli. She looked furious and shouted, "You've lost. What's the point of saying this nonsense? Everyone wants to go higher, but the geniuses of the Immortal Cave all want to go lower?" Bamboo Moon's expression was calm and her tone was calm as she said, "If you're really capable, why don't you go to the first mountain?" Luan Monli's face was ugly, it could be said to be ashen. Her eyes were spitting fire as she angrily said, "What does it have to do with you whether I go or not? A loser like you really has a lot to say. How come I didn't realize you were so talkative just now? And that Su Yen, isn't he very capable? Why is he hiding and not daring to meet people? Su Yen will not bully the weak, nor will he humiliate the weak." Bamboo Moon shook her head slightly. She was dressed in a silver robe and her eyes were bright. She was dignified and beautiful, graceful and noble. She said softly, "You clearly know our strength. We are not even outer disciples of the Immortals' Grotto. Yet you challenged us and humiliated us. You even took away our items. You have a bad heart." The surroundings were silent. Some people who were dissatisfied with Luan Monli's arrogance shook their heads. Luan Monli had indeed gone too far. Although the strong were king in the Immortals' Grotto, the top geniuses of the Immortals' Grotto would not casually bully the weak. In short, no matter how angry Xixia Fairy was, she had to endure it. If the news of the first mountain deliberately hiding their strength leaked out, it would be strange if the reincarnation imperial family did not suspect them. After all, the most troublesome thing was the Emperor's repository Dao Cave. "Bastard, you're not strong enough, yet you talk so much nonsense. I'll tear your mouth apart." Luan Monli was furious. She raised her jade palm and tried to suppress Bamboo Moon. The sky was filled with a rain of reincarnation light, covering the world in front of them. However, Bamboo Moon, who was about to be imprisoned, walked through the starry sky with light steps, her clothes fluttering in the wind. She was a peerless beauty. Bamboo Moon's elegance was extraordinary, like a real fairy who had descended to the mortal world. She avoided the suppression of reincarnation power and remained calm. Many people were in a daze, and even some women felt ashamed of their inferiority. Bamboo Moon had the demeanor of a great family, but she was also beautiful and gentle. On the other hand, although Luan Monli was gorgeous, it was difficult to compare her to Bamboo Moon. "Do you only know how to hide?" Luan Monli was so angry that she screamed. Her palm rose up again and pressed down on the area where Zhuyu was. She used a great divine ability to confine heaven and earth. Although Bamboo Moon had hidden her true cultivation, she was not someone Luan Monli could easily suppress. After more than 10 consecutive attacks, she did not even manage to touch the corner of Bamboo Moon's clothes. The surrounding people were shocked, and Luan Monli was about to go crazy. This was a kind of shame. As a top contestant in the outer region of the Immortal Cave, she could not make things difficult for a small Bamboo Moon. Suppress. At this moment, in Luan Monli's palm, the heavenly star bead rotated, and tens of thousands of stars shone. It was like a sea of stars dancing in the sky, revealing a peerlessly powerful power. This was a set of forbidden treasures, and in an instant, it rushed toward Bamboo Moon. Many people were shocked. Luan Monley wanted to kill Bamboo Moon. Bamboo Moon's eyes were somewhat cold. Just as the heavenly bamboo forest was about to recover, an unusually turbulent aura surged from afar. Along the way, a large number of cultivators flew out. This was a shocking power that could paralyze all living things. Boom! A black divine furnace descended from the sky, crushing the power of the heavenly star bead into pieces. Tens of thousands of star beads wailed and returned to silence. Luan Monley coughed up blood, trembled, and almost fell. At the critical moment, the top of her head shone, and a large earthen yellow seal rushed into the sky. The seal was inscribed with the symbols of life and death. However, the power of the furnace of suppression was too strong, and in an instant, it suppressed this earthen yellow seal. "My treasure!" Luan Monley screamed. This was the most precious treasure she was proud of, and it was bestowed to her by her tribe. Now, it was directly swallowed by the furnace of suppression. Su Yen, this place was in an uproar. This person was really powerful, and directly snatched away Luan Monley's life and death reincarnation seal. Although this treasure was an imitation, its divine power was truly powerful. Su Yen noticed that Bamboo Moon and Zixiao were not injured, and immediately calmed down. A pair of cold eyes stared at Luan Monley, and he saw through her origins. "Hand over my treasure!" Luan Monley was furious. Su Yen did not seem to have any intention of returning it. "Su Yen, you've gone too far. What's the point of using an immortal king weapon to suppress Luan Monley? It's an unfair victory." "That's right. You even took away Luan Monley's treasure. Hand it over." Some people stood up for Luan Monley, and stood out to reprimand Su Yen. They were also shocked. Wasn't this the Xian people's furnace of suppression? It had actually fallen into Su Yan's hands. Ridiculous. Only the magistrate can set a fire, but the commoners can't light a lamp? Fairy Zixia mocked. Just now, Luan Monley snatched away Bamboo Moon's heavenly star bead. Why did you stand out to speak for her? Now you're blaming Su Yen. This is not the same at all. Su Yen is relying on an immortal king weapon. Someone's expression was very cold. "I think your eyes are not working well. Su Yen did not use the divine power of an immortal king weapon," Fairy Zixia replied. Some people were speechless. Thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be true. If an immortal king weapon was a silent source of divine power, it could indeed only be considered a forbidden item. "You didn't lose out, right?" Su Yen walked over and handed the heavenly star bead to her. "I'm fine. Be careful. Don't be reckless." Bamboo Moon secretly transmitted her voice to inform Su Yen that there was an expert's divine sense on Luan Monley, who had been observing her during the battle just now. After all, Bamboo Moon had the secret treasure of the sky bamboo forest. Using this item to suppress her, even immortal kings would find it difficult to see her specific strength. This made Su Yan's heart tremble. It seemed that the reincarnation emperor tribe had already started to suspect them. After all, many years had passed, and the tyrant celestial emperor's death had not been confirmed. They did not even know who the mastermind was. Now that the reincarnation emperor tribe had already started to suspect them, this was not a good thing. "Return my treasure to me." Luan Monley's heart was filled with anger. She pointed at Su Yen and said, "Sneak attack from behind. Su Yen, you are a despicable person." "What are you?" Su Yen cast a sidelong glance at Luan Monley and shouted, "How dare you be rude to me? If you have nothing to do, scram to the side." These words were like a clap of thunder, shocking the hearts of the people around. Luan Monley was the proud daughter of the reincarnation emperor tribe. No matter where she went, she would be surrounded by stars. But Su Yen said that she was a what? Many people were petrified. Luan Monley was so angry that her body trembled. She completely lost control and shouted like a shrew, Su Yen, do you think that you are invincible? Tiangang King, why are you still not attacking and suppressing him? She admitted that she could not defeat Su Yen, but there was someone who could. Boom. In an instant, heaven and earth trembled violently. It was as if a golden sun had appeared in the sky, emitting terrifying energy ripples. In this endless bright sun, there was a figure that looked like an ancient war god. He had a majestic aura that could swallow the sun and moon. It was the Tiangang King. The Tiangang King is here. The surrounding people shouted fanatically. The disciples in the outer region of the Immortals' Cave were extremely respectful to the Tiangang King. His appearance alarmed the elders in the outer region of the Immortals' Cave. They came one after another. All of them were silent and did not try to stop him. They also wanted to know how powerful Su Yen, who dominated the first mountain, was. Now, the Phoenix King and the Old Monkey had joined hands to go to the Immortal Elder Institute to propose a new ranking list. The Immortal Elder of the Immortals' Cave also wanted to know how powerful Su Yen was. After all, this was related to the Great War between the Immortals and demons. A great era of storms was about to arrive. The greatest clash between the immortal world and the dark world was about to begin. Su Yen, this is the first time we meet. I have long heard of your great name. The Tiangang King's words were like a bell. He was also very direct. Return Luan Monli's treasure. This person's tone was not small, directly ordering Su Yen. However, there was no doubt about his strength. He was extremely powerful. What if I don't give it to you? Su Yan's lips curled up in a cold smile. His figure was slender, but there was a majestic aura about him. He was like a demon god that illuminated all directions. Su Yen, there is no need to make things difficult for a girl in a battle between the top levels. The Tiangang King's words were calm, but everyone could feel how terrifying this person was. It was as if he was standing in the distance. His body was hazy and radiant. It was impossible to see clearly. Humph, why didn't you stand out and speak just now? Fairy Zixia walked over, her purple clothes fluttering. She shouted, now you are saying that this is a battle between the top levels. Luan Monli just took away Bamboo Moon's treasure. Why didn't you stand out? Woman, you didn't even dare to come out and fight with me just now. Now that Su Yen is here, you jump out. You are really timid. However, do you think that you can talk to the Tiangang King as an equal just because you have Su Yen? Just because you can challenge the first mountain doesn't mean you have invincible battle strength. Luan Monli screamed, her words ear-piercing. The Tiangang King's appearance instantly gave her a backbone. Talk as an equal? Fairy Zixia sneered. Then what qualifications do you have to be impudent in front of Su Yen and question him? Do you believe that he can crush you with a single finger? Luan Monli was incomparably angry. She glared at Su Yen and said, crush me with a single finger? Don't get slapped to death by the Tiangang King when the time comes. Since you don't believe me, I can fulfill your wish. Su Yan's words roused the spirits of the surrounding people. Some people felt that Su Yen was too arrogant. He had just ascended the first mountain and dared to crush a top genius of the outer regions with a single finger? Su Yen, you are too arrogant. Luan Monli was furious. She was destined to walk towards Su Yen. She didn't believe in heresy. Monli, come back. The Tiangang King said in a low voice. I don't believe that he can crush me with a single finger. Luan Monli was incomparably angry. Her aura erupted to the extreme. She shouted coldly, that bitch called Zixia, listen to me. If he can't do it, kneel down and admit your mistake. Boom. In an instant, Su Yan's finger rose up. It was so heavy that it was somewhat terrifying. Heaven and earth trembled. The finger seemed very small, but it actually contained boundless strength. It enveloped Luan Monli's body. No matter how much she struggled, she couldn't move. She was completely suppressed in an instant. Luan Monli's body was twisting. It was really going to shatter. She looked abnormally small. Under Su Yan's finger, she was like a tiny ant. Chapter 2. Today's Eruption. Chapter 1943. Luan Monley was terrified. No matter what kind of foundation she had, she could not resist at all. Her body was twisting and cracking. Fresh blood flowed down and dyed the ground red. She could not even let out a cry of pain. Her body trembled, and her heart was filled with fear and humiliation. A finger could really crush her to death. How much power did that finger contain? The people around them were also petrified. They had thought that Su Yan was just saying it casually, but they did not expect him to have unparalleled combat power. After all, Luan Monley was not weak. But she could not even withstand the power of Su Yan's finger. This is the equal Heaven Sage King who stands at the peak of the first mountain. At this moment, they were alerted. Su Yan was a peerless hero who had ascended the first mountain. This was a fact among facts. His divine might was shocking, and there were very few who could compete with him in the same generation. What was a mere Luan Monley? She could not even enter the core area of the Immortal Cave, but Su Yan refused to become the Immortal Cave's strongest seeded contestant. It was clear how much confidence he had. Su Yan vaguely sensed a strong deadly aura nearby. Some elders could not sit still. After all, Luan Monley was a disciple of the Immortal Cave. They could not just watch her die. Su Yan flicked his finger and sent Luan Monley flying. She fell to the ground and coughed up blood. Her body trembled, and her mouth and nose were full of blood. She could not say a word, and she could not even get up. What was the difference between being severely injured with a finger and dying? This was the equal Heaven Sage King Su Yan. In an instant, the gazes on him changed. Some were respectful, some were fearful, and some were fanatical. The atmosphere in the area was somewhat stifling. Could the Tiangang King sit still? Sure enough, the figure in the golden sun gradually became clearer. It was like a war god from ancient times. His bronze body was majestic. Although he was not as burly as the barbarian god, he was still very tall. His messy hair flew, his face was sharp, and his pupils were extremely sharp. As expected of the Ingjie who ascended the first mountain, whispered the Tiangang King. He had also ascended, but his speed was not as fast as Su Yan's. At this moment, he acknowledged Su Yan's strength. He had also been in the Saint Realm for a long time. He did not believe that he was weaker than Su Yan. The Tiangang King walked over step by step. His aura was getting stronger and stronger. The entire area was shaking. It was as though the god of war was taking a step forward. The sky was filled with boundless pressure pressing down on Su Yan. And many people were scared out of their wit. The elders who were watching from afar all lost their colors. This area was completely distorted and deformed. If it wasn't for the Immortal Cave's territory being firm, this area would be barren and everything would silently evaporate. But you are too domineering. You shouldn't humiliate her like this. The Tiangang sovereign revealed his dissatisfaction and shouted coldly, "The deity cave has produced many experts in the past. It is the place where the heroes of the world gather. Su Yan, your sharpness is too strong. This is not a good thing." "What? I kneel here and let her humiliate me. Do I deserve the status of the Immortal Cave? Tiangang King, if you want to stand up for Luan Monley, just do it. You are not qualified to reprimand me." Su Yan sneered. His eyes scanned the Tiangang King. This person's body was really strong. He could see his vast blood and qi. Although Luan Monley is wrong in some areas, Su Yan, you are new here. You are a little too much. The Tiangang King shook his head. He was infinitely close to Su Yan. He said softly, "Of course, this has nothing to do with me. The Tenrai of Beach said that he wanted to deal with you. But Su Yan, you dared to reject the invitation of the Immortal Cave. You really don't know how to appreciate favors. Do you think the Immortal King path is so easy to walk?" The area rumbled. The blood and qi in the Tiangang King's body was too strong. It burned fiercely. The nearby cultivators were shocked. They felt as if they had fallen into a divine furnace. Their blood and chi were about to melt. "Let's go," they exclaimed. The peak battle was about to begin. "This has nothing to do with you," Su Yan said indifferently. "It is good to have strong potential, but you can't be too arrogant. Besides, I want to participate in the immortal demon war." The Tiangang King's aura grew stronger. His blood and chi rippled, covering the sky. He shouted, "The number one mountain under the heavens is only based on one's potential. It doesn't represent one's combat strength. Su Yan, if you don't have enough combat strength, you should retreat. This is the most important matter in the immortal world. You can't be careless. So you want to use me to establish your prestige and fight for the chance to participate in the immortal demon war." Su Yan was a little surprised. He said, "Your confidence is really strong. Just based on your attitude and determination to participate in the battle, I can go easy on you later." "You impudent!" The Tiangang King was angry. His essence, chi, and spirit changed instantly. His bronze body was filled with a terrifying sharpness. He suddenly pounced on Su Yan. "Su Yan is too arrogant. Tiangang King, beat him up." The Tiangang King is invincible. His body is so strong that you can't find many people who are on par with him in the immortal cave. Many people shouted fanatically. What did Su Yan mean by his words just now? They hadn't even started fighting, and he said that he would go easy on the Tiangang King. Who was the one targeting who? Did they figure it out? "Come." Su Yan took the initiative to walk forward. He raised his hand and pressed forward. "Kill!" The Tiangang King roared. His oppressive aura shook the heavens and earth. The moment his fist rose, it exploded with a shocking aura that could uproot rivers and mountains. It hit Su Yan. With a loud sound, the 10-square world trembled. The energy ripples surged violently. The void was constantly destroyed, forming a terrifying destructive attack. Many people couldn't bear it. They felt as if the sky was full of stars smashing on their bodies. Some people were shocked. Su Yan blocked it. His arm didn't move at all. Boom! Terrifying light emitted. The sound of thunder exploded. It was a pure contest of physical strength. The power was turbulent and majestic. Many people couldn't look at it. The light that burst out of the battlefield was too bright. This was the collision of two great war gods. In a short period of time, the sky and earth darkened. The sun and moon lost their light. "So strong, I've underestimated you." The Tiangang King had a premonition that Su Yan was terrifying. No matter how strong he was, he still couldn't find out Su Yan's foundation. This made him feel that he was facing a peerless enemy. In an instant, the Tiangang King changed completely. His bronze body stood tall, and the pores on his body leaked blood chi light. It filled the starry sky. It was like a burning furnace of heaven and earth. Blood chi light poured down from the outer realms. This body, the younger generation trembled. The foundation of the Tiangang King was too shocking and peerless. Once the essence blood in his body erupted, it flooded the world. This was the demeanor of a peerless saint. His body dominated the world like a wild dragon. Boom! Astral Dipper King's body emitted faint dragon roars. This was an extremely terrifying phenomenon. Astral Dipper King's body was about to transform into a corporeal true dragon that soared into the skies. Behind him, an illusory Dharma idol appeared and punched out together with Astral Dipper King. Sky Tyrant Fist. The Tiangang King roared toward the sky. This was one of the few body technique inheritances in the Immortal Cave. Although it couldn't be compared to the Supreme Dragon Wrestling technique, it still allowed the Tiangang King's body to erupt to the highest level. Even the figure behind him shone brightly. Su Yan's palm turned into a fist. This strike was peerless. It shook the void and bombarded the Sky Tyrant Fist. The elders who were watching from all sides turned pale. Su Yan did not seem to have activated any magical powers, but his fist imprint contained a very frightening mystery. It was as if he had merged with the heavens and earth. Hence, the fist imprint that exploded was like an immortal sun that illuminated the heavens. What's that? Look quickly. Some elders opened their heavenly eyes and looked into the distance. They found that Su Yan's fist was illuminating heaven and earth. It was as if heaven and earth had turned into a giant fist. What kind of profundity was this? Caused a huge change in heaven and earth. It was about to destroy the stars in the sky. Ah! The Tiangang king brandished the sky tyrant fist. One couldn't help but admit that he was a battle maniac. He was very clear about how terrifying Su Yan was, but he still rushed over. He didn't believe that he couldn't force out Su Yan's strongest combat prowess. Su Yan was simple and direct. Golden fist imprints blasted over, causing the sky tyrant fist to be dyed red with blood. Even the Tiangang king's body was about to explode. With the power of the heavens, I'm invincible, the Tiangang king howled. His body merged with the giant figure behind him, exuding a tyrannical strength. His aura grew even more turbulent. Such an aura was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. This was the ultimate form of the sky tyrant fist. It howled with the power to dominate the world, causing chaos in the heavens and earth. Even a corner of the universe was wailing. The Tiangang king instantly erupted with 10 layers of ferocious attacks. They stacked on top of each other, covering this entire area, forming a destructive tide that filled the sky. Break! Su Yan roared. His body trembled violently. The power of the great treasure was faintly discernible, yet it formed an extremely powerful attack that tore apart all obstructions. This was a power that was unrivaled in the same generation. It was unstoppable. What kind of ultimate art is this? The Tiangang king felt a headache. He was stunned. The sky tyrant fist was in its strongest state, yet it still couldn't suppress him. He could vaguely sense that Su Yan had grasped a supreme power that was impossible to block. You really want to know? Su Yan's figure was very calm from start to finish. In this world, there were only a few experts that could make Su Yan use his true strength. Tiangang king, why are you asking such nonsense? Hurry up and attack! Luan Monli screamed. She was already anxious. It couldn't be that she couldn't win against Su Yan, right? Shut up! The Tiangang king glared at Luan Monli. With a roar of anger, Luan Monli's body was half crippled. She was blasted through the air and smashed into a mountain before fainting. Many people were stunned. What was going on? Su Yan was definitely a powerhouse among powerhouses. How could he be questioned and belittled by a mere Luan Monli? The Tiangang king revered those unrivaled powerhouses of his generation the most. But he also discovered that targeting Su Yan was a mistake. He had an absolute foundation that allowed him to show disdain for the world. Come! The Tiangang king clenched his fist. His bronze body seethed with the light of blood energy, drowning out the starry skies. Even the heavens and earth shook as if they were pulsating. Baokai was amazed. This Tiangang king's body was truly abnormal. His foundation was too extraordinary. As you wish. Su Yan's long hair danced in the wind. His body suddenly became much more terrifying. With a raise of his hand, the heavens and earth trembled. The source of blood energy that filled the skies completely collapsed. He punched out, and it was like a bolt of thunder exploding, shattering the universe. This region was destroyed. The Tiangang king felt as if he had fallen into purgatory. His bronze body that he was so proud of shook violently. He couldn't withstand it and was about to shatter into pieces. Puff! He trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. The strength contained in this punch was like the universe itself. It pressed down on the Tiangang king's body, causing his body to break apart. He was sent flying through the air and smashed into the mountain, causing the earth to shake violently. Third update, brothers. Chapter 1944. He was heavily injured with a single punch. The heavens and earth were extremely silent. They originally thought that the Tiangang king would be able to teach Su Yan a lesson. Who would have thought that once this person went berserk, the Tiangang king wouldn't even be able to withstand a single punch? How could it be so ridiculous? The core members of the celestial cavern all trembled as goosebumps rose all over their bodies. How could it be so ridiculous? Such combat prowess was enough to rank him among the strongest in the celestial cavern. The Tiangang king's body was torn apart, and his entire body was covered in blood. He crawled up from the pool of blood and stared unblinkingly at Su Yan. "Do you still want to continue?" Su Yan slowly walked on the battlefield. He had the belief of being invincible under the heavens. He roamed the mountains and comprehended the Tao in the Copper Palace, comprehending the essence of the body cultivator lineage. Once the great treasure of the human body erupted, he would be invincible. This was a true state of being undefeatable. Otherwise, the inheritance of the first mountain would not have remained unharvested for so long. The Tiangang sovereign happened to run into Su Yan in his strongest state on the path of body cultivators. "Come!" the Tiangang king roared. His blood-stained body emitted a strong demonic aura, as if he had crawled out from hell. He still wanted to fight. This person's physique was instantly unsealed. Billowing astral winds gushed out. Each of them was extremely thick, as if they could bind a true dragon. A torrential astral wind storm was born, and its killing power reached 100,000 feet. This was the power that the Tiangang king was proud of. Once his physique was activated, his combat prowess would skyrocket. It could be said that he would enter a berserk state for a short period of time. One couldn't help but say that the shocking overlords of the celestial cavern were all extremely powerful. This Tiangang king's cultivation of the body had reached the point of perfection. If he could comprehend the body cultivator lineage, he would have great accomplishments in the future. Boom! The astral winds were boundless, forming a vast ocean. The pressure caused the laws of heaven and earth to tremble. This entire world was changing shape. "Come again!" the Tiangang king roared. He was truly extremely valiant. The astral winds that filled the sky came crashing down, making him look like a supreme overlord. His palms slammed down with the force of Mount Tai. One could faintly see a terrifying giant hand tearing through the starry sky. In an instant, the energy in Su Yan's body exploded. He was like a dormant ancient dragon, causing the entire world to become blurry and dark. He seemed to have transformed into a war god that was looking down on the world. That is, everyone trembled. Some didn't even dare to look straight at Su Yan. What kind of power was this? It was so powerful that it made them tremble, as if they had met the king of their lives. At this moment, Su Yan's chi and blood were golden. His divine might was vast and mighty, like the return of a deceased human sovereign. He lifted his hand and crushed the astral chi storm, slamming it down onto the Tiangang king's body. Dong dong dong, Tiangang king staggered backwards, retreating several dozen steps. Everyone was stunned. The Tiangang king was sent flying again? His strongest battle constitution had been unsealed, but he was still sent flying so easily, which meant that they weren't on the same level at all. They felt as if they were dreaming. This was the Tiangang king they were talking about, yet he was defeated so miserably. The equaling heaven's saint king was much more terrifying than they had imagined. Had he cultivated an invincible physique? This kid is not simple. Invincible physique, unimaginable. A group of elders in the distance had solemn expressions. Although Su Yan had only unleashed his power for an instant, they still saw his face clearly. His terrifying strength tore through the sky. If he hadn't shown mercy, the Tiangang king would have been killed directly. Immortal Cave, Emperor's Star. In a chaotic palace suspended above the 9 heavens, the atmosphere was majestic. Primal chaos pervaded the air, like the palace of emperors. It was hazy, and one after another, terrifying figures were faintly discernible in the primal chaos. The Phoenix King and the old monkey were furious. Su Yan's achievements were too high, but some immortal elders were still reluctant to let Su Yan participate in the great war of immortals and demons. Moreover, the Thunder Immortal Elder had called for reinforcement. The Xian people and other forces sent experts over one after another. In short, the Reincarnation Emperor race and the others were determined not to let Su Yan take too much risk. Once he obtained supreme glory, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens to deal with him in the future. At this moment, an expert rushed in from outside the palace and said a sentence, which made the Phoenix King and the old monkey laugh. The Tiangang King was heavily injured by a single punch. An immortal elder thought that Su Yan lacked a great divine ability to protect himself. Now, his expression changed. Defeating the Tiangang King with a single punch, this wasn't an ordinary battle prowess. He was among the strongest in the immortal cave. There were many discussions in the palace. After all, most of the immortal elders still regarded the great war of immortals and demons as their top priority. Su Yan's battle prowess made them pay attention. Some of the immortal elders changed their stance and started to support Su Yan. Bastard! Lei Xian Elder's expression was gloomy. Su Yan had killed his son. It would be strange if he could spare Su Yan. Even if he did not act on the surface, was it still difficult to suppress Su Yan's growth in secret? But this person was getting stronger and stronger. One had to know that once the great war of immortals and demons was won, all participants would receive shocking rewards. Even if Su Yan wasn't in the immortal cave, he would still receive a huge amount of resources as a reward. Just the points alone were as high as tens of millions. At this moment, the Tiangang King's body was trembling. He knelt on one knee and looked at Su Yan with a fanatical gaze. Did you really break through the ultimate trial ground? Many people were stunned. They didn't believe that Su Yan had really broken through. In fact, they had some prejudice in their hearts. They didn't think that people from the human world could break through the nightmare difficulty of the first mountain. After all, very few people had done it in the past. If you've been there before, you should know, Su Yan replied. The Tiangang King smiled bitterly. He had indeed been there before. He had survived because of himself, but no one knew about this. This was the most shameful thing for the Tiangang King, because he hadn't even stayed on the mountain for 10 breaths of time. That incident back then had a huge impact on the Tiangang King. Therefore, he paid special attention to the participants who had broken through the ultimate trial ground. But did Su Yan pass or not? This was a problem. If the Thunder Immortal Elder hadn't suppressed it, the news would have spread like wildfire. You still want to continue? Some people were shocked. Even some elders couldn't sit still. They wanted to say, Tiangang King, why don't you leave? Don't embarrass yourself here. You represented the core area and fought Su Yan, but you ended up losing miserably. The Tiangang King came in front of Su Yan and cupped his hands. He solemnly said, Can I follow by your side? He didn't have enough confidence to say this. His voice was also very low. It was a bit shameful to say it. He had clearly wanted to suppress Su Yan, but now he chose to follow Su Yan. The people nearby were dumbfounded. Many people's faces twitched. They didn't know what to say. Some people also felt embarrassed for the Tiangang King. What the F***ck was this? Especially the one who asked the Tiangang King to teach Su Yan a lesson. His face was swollen, and he wished he could find a hole to hide in. As a key disciple of the Immortals' Cave, the Tiangang King actually chose to follow Su Yan, who was temporarily staying in the Immortals' Cave. If this news were to spread, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. In fact, the Tiangang King was very clear in his heart. The competition in the Immortals' Cave was very cruel. He, the Tiangang King, had participated in the great war of the immortals and demons, but he didn't win. If it wasn't for the previous incident, the Tiangang King would have left the Immortals' Cave long ago. The Immortal's Cave wouldn't allow an Overlord who couldn't continue to grow his potential to stay in the Immortal's Cave and waste resources. This was a cruel fact that had to be accepted. Especially for a peerless figure like the Tiangang King. He didn't have a strong tribe to support him. Once he couldn't continue to grow his potential, he was destined to be eliminated. In the history of the Immortal's Cave, there were many similar incidents. Once a person's growth reached the limit, they couldn't progress any further. If they couldn't win the Great War of the Immortals and Demons, they weren't qualified to hibernate in the Immortal's Cave for generations. You're not suitable. Su Yen was also shocked. He shook his head and refused. The Tiangang King scratched his head anxiously. He was also a simple-minded person who specialized in the path of body cultivation. Even he couldn't touch the profound meaning of the human body's treasures. However, Su Yen was qualified. In the Tiangang King's heart, Su Yen was more important than the guidance given by the Immortal's Cave's Elder Xian. "I'll work hard," the 7-foot-tall Tiangang King said with a red face. He didn't feel embarrassed at all. Some of the elders almost fell to the ground and cursed. King Tiangang King, can't you have some backbone? Didn't you see that Su Yen had rejected him just now? We can spar normally. Su Yen saw that the Tiangang King was thirsty for talent and couldn't bear to reject him. His impression of the Tiangang King improved a lot. He didn't resent the fact that his skills were inferior. Instead, he chose to work hard. In short, this person was much stronger than the arrogant and despotic people he had met. Good. When the time comes, I hope Brother Su won't be stingy with your guidance. The Tiangang King laughed excitedly, making the people around him speechless. They really didn't know what to say. Some people wanted to say, "Tiangang King, can you still have some dignity?" It was like a farce, ending in such a ridiculous way. Similarly, with Su Yan's peak level, most likely no one would come to challenge him. Once he lost, it would be a huge loss of face. When do you think we should start? The Tiangang King was very anxious. Su Yen glanced at him and said, "What's the hurry? Tell me about the Celestial Dragon Realm. I want to go and explore it." Some of the cultivators who were preparing to leave were shocked. Su Yen wanted to go to the Celestial Dragon Realm? This was the hardest challenge of the Immortal's Cave. It specifically targeted the physical body. In the history of the Immortal's Cave, the number of experts who broke through the Celestial Dragon Realm could be counted on one's fingers. How long do you think Su Yen needs to spend to break through the Celestial Dragon Realm? Someone asked in a low voice. They didn't think that Su Yen couldn't pass the Celestial Dragon Realm, because the Tiangang King was already very close to passing the Celestial Dragon Realm. Then Su Yen shouldn't have much difficulty, right? Hard to say. The reward for breaking through the Celestial Dragon Realm is not little. Some people were envious. Su Yen already had 1,000,000 points. Once he broke through the Celestial Dragon Realm, the reward would be more than 1,000,000 points. Even the faster the time, the more points he would get. After all, this was one of the strongest test grounds of the Immortal's Cave. The points given for passing it were massive. Even if he failed, he could still get a certain amount of points as a reward. According to legend, once the record of the Celestial Dragon Realm was broken, the points obtained would be an outrageous 2,000,000. It was really scary. But who could do it in the past? One must know that the record of the Celestial Dragon Realm was left behind by the princess. Su Yen, why are you going to break through the Celestial Dragon Realm? At this time, a figure with boundless divine might rushed over. The nearby elders all went pale, and they all stepped forward to pay their respects. The primal chaos immortal elder had arrived. This was a heavyweight. He looked at Su Yen with his hazy primal chaos eyes. Given Su Yan's potential, there was no need for him to waste it on the training grounds. He should have gone straight to the Technique Inheritance Hall to cultivate a series of peerless divine abilities. Immortal Demon War was about to start. Su Yen most likely didn't master too many peak secret technique. He should cherish the remaining time. Reporting to Chaos Immortal Elder. Su Yen cupped his hands and said, "The expert of the Technique Inheritance Hall said that I must pass the Celestial Dragon Realm to be qualified to cultivate the Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique." Chaos Immortal Elder's face turned gloomy and asked, "You didn't tell the Technique Inheritance Hall Master that it was me who gave you the authority?" Baokai rushed out and said, "Chaos Immortal Elder, that Xian Zhixing said that you were negligent. The treatment given to Su Yen is not in accordance with the rules." "Oh right, he isn't the Technique Inheritance Hall Master. He seems to be the Vice Hall Master." "What did you say?" Chaos Immortal Elder's face changed greatly. This made Su Yen and the rest's expression particularly interesting. A small Vice Hall Master dared to disobey him? Who is Xian Zhixing? What kind of dog is that? Chaos Immortal Elder was furious. The entire area was trembling. He believed that Baokai wouldn't lie. Delivered at 4 p.m. Chapter 1945. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. The universe turned dark. Everyone trembled and couldn't stand still. How could they resist the anger of a Chaos Immortal Elder? They couldn't breathe. He was really angry. Thunder Immortal Elder had disrupted the order of the first mountain, which had already made him unhappy. Thunder Immortal Elder had also brought a group of people to refute the new list. He had long been suppressing a ball of fire in his heart. But now, the treatment and status he gave Su Yen made him unable to even enter the Technique Inheritance Hall. This infuriated the Chaos Immortal Elder. Could it be that the fifth Immortal Elder had lost his authority and was reduced to a mass of air? Preposterous! Who was Xian Zhixing? That's right, why would the Chaos Immortal Elder pay attention to a small Xian Zhixing? He was an immortal king of a generation and was extremely dignified. He was the fifth Immortal Elder of Immortal Elder Academy. Even if Technique Inheritance Hall's Immortal Elders came, these primal Chaos Immortal Elders wouldn't give them any face. After all, the Immortal Elders in Immortal Elder Academy were the 10 great Immortal Elders. The other Immortal Elders' statuses were much lower. Not all Immortal Elders were Immortal Kings. Although the Technique Inheritance Hall Master had great authority, it wasn't enough in front of the fifth Immortal Elder. Some elders mourned for Xian Zhixing. The Chaos Immortal Elder was clearly angry. He wouldn't allow his dignity to be trampled on. Now, he brought Su Yen to the Technique Inheritance Hall. Domineering. The Chaos Immortal Elder is too domineering. Baokai and the others laughed. Xian Zhixing made things difficult for Su Yen before. If he didn't have the furnace of suppression, he might have been targeted by this old thing. Now that the Chaos Immortal Elder stood up for Su Yen, the Technique Inheritance Hall would most likely change. Chaos Immortal Elder, are we going directly? Su Yen frowned. He had helped him on the first mountain, and that was already a big favor. He didn't expect him to be brought to the Technique Inheritance Hall. The Chaos Immortal Elder was too fast. He tore the sky apart with a raise of his hand. As he moved, the sky was filled with the light of time. The scene was grand and majestic, as if he was rushing along the sea of chaos. Every step he took, tenser. Therefore, in a few breaths, he arrived at the outer region of the Technique Inheritance Hall. "Don't worry." The Chaos Immortal Elder's tone was cold. He said, "Su Yen, you've passed the first mountain and broken through the ultimate trial ground. Although you don't want to join the Immortal Cave, you're going to the battlefield of immortals and demons. You should be given the best resources. This is a matter of utmost importance to our immortal world. Those who obstruct us will have to pay the price in blood." Su Yan's heart was filled with warmth as he asked, "Have the top 10 contestants been decided?" "There will be a result tomorrow. You don't have to worry. If nothing unexpected happens, you will be on the list," Chaos Immortal said. "Use this time to cultivate and master a few peerless abilities. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me at my cave abode." "Thank you, Chaos Immortal Elder. I'm relieved to hear that." Su Yen calmed down. The immortal cavern was not under the control of Thunder Immortal Elder and the others. As long as Su Yen could play an important role in the Immortal Devil battlefield, he would be able to obtain a massive amount of resources. This was without a doubt. After all, if he won, how prestigious would that be? He would directly become a legendary figure. Go, I'll see who dares to stop you. The Chaos Immortal Elder waved his sleeve and shot out an energy substance that penetrated Su Yan's flesh and blood. In an instant, Su Yan's aura became countless times more terrifying. It was as if he had turned into a giant dragon that looked down on the world. He was filled with indescribable power. Su Yan was shocked. The Chaos Immortal Elder had such a powerful ability. After all, he was a Daesong. However, the Chaos Immortal Elder's magic power was perfectly integrated into his body. This was caused by the earth-shattering Dao fruit, and Su Yan could perfectly withstand it. He couldn't help but be shocked. The Immortal King was too powerful after all. A casual move had raised Su Yan to a terrifying realm. Su Yan was full of confidence and once again went to the Inheritance Hall. Why are you here again? Xian Hong's injuries hadn't healed yet. When he saw Su Yan, his expression changed. He directly took out a battle spear and pointed it at Su Yan. He shouted, "Didn't I tell you that only by going to the Celestial Dragon Realm can you be qualified to cultivate the Supreme Fighting Dragon technique?" A large number of guards also stood out. Their faces were faintly unpleasant. After all, Xian Zhisheng was also severely injured by Su Yan's furnace of suppression. Who would have thought that Xian Zhisheng would suffer a great loss in the hands of Su Yan? Now, Su Yan was here again. His black hair draped over his shoulders, and his eyes were deep. He walked step by step toward the Inheritance Hall. "Stop right there!" Xian Hong was furious. The battle spear in his hand glowed and surged with imperial killing intent. He roared, "Su Yan, how dare you barge into the Inheritance Hall? Why can't I go to the Inheritance Hall?" Su Yan's words were like thunder, echoing between heaven and earth. His spirit soared, and the might of an expert surged. He shouted, "Even if I, Su Yan, don't cultivate the Supreme Fighting Dragon technique, I am qualified to cultivate other secret techniques. Why can't I come to the Technique Inheritance Hall?" The Chaos Immortal Elder nodded. Su Yan was reasonable and wouldn't use his talent to bully others. This was very much to his liking. If it wasn't for the fact that his Dao technique wasn't suitable for Su Yan, he would have taken him in and nurtured him. "Su Yan, don't be unreasonable here." Xian Hong sneered. "Don't think that we can't do anything to you just because you have an Immortal King weapon. I'll tell you the truth. The Inheritance Hall won't be open to you unless you invite the Chaos Immortal Elder to open the way for you. Otherwise, this is your death zone. If you dare to take another step forward, I'll be angry." At the end, Xian Hong laughed proudly. The face of the Chaos Immortal Elder who was entrenched in the void darkened. "You want me to open the way for Su Yan?" The Chaos Immortal Elder was furious that a puny emperor dared to be so arrogant. "Who do you think you are? You're still angry?" Su Yan walked step by step toward the Inheritance Hall. He was only 9 steps away from the door. With each step, his essence, qi, and spirit became stronger. Moreover, Su Yan didn't need the Chaos Immortal Elder's strength to deal with Xian Zisheng and the other cultivators. He relied on his own strength. Su Yan's divine aura was vast and mighty. His eyes were filled with killing intent. His ferocious aura was too strong. Some of the guards were nervous and guilty. After all, this was against the rules. Were they really going to stop him? 3 more feet. Xian Hong's eyes were bloodshot. The battle spear in his hand shone brightly like a mountain. He shouted, "Don't make a mistake, or I'll make sure you don't return." He took another step forward. Xian Hong was completely furious. The battle spear in his hand shone as he roared, "This kid is crazy. Come with me to suppress him." He rushed over. His aura soared to the peak. Even the killing weapon in his hand was revived. He used his most powerful emperor's power. He didn't believe that he, a peak emperor, couldn't stop a puny Su Yen De Song. Kill. The battle spear flew across the sky with surging killing intent. He attacked in an instant, wanting to pierce Su Yan's chest. However, a hand suddenly reached out and grabbed the spear in an instant. Su Yan's aura exploded. It was as ferocious as a primeval beast. The great path of the heavens and earth trembled. The strongest combat power was being unsealed. This kid, the Chaos Immortal Elder's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. What kind of power was this? The Emperor's law of order in the sky exploded, but it couldn't resist the roaring power in Su Yan's body. It was hard to imagine that this was the power of a Daesong. It was amazing to cross a realm and defeat an Emperor's domain expert. Xian Hong was a little frightened. What kind of power was this? His imperial battle spear had been grabbed, and he was unable to pull it out. Moreover, the boundless ferocious aura that Su Yen emitted had forcefully restrained his body. Vaguely, he seemed to see a blurry and supreme emperor behind Su Yen, a sovereign descending upon the world. Trash, is this all you've got? Su Yan's expression was cold. In his peak state, he was invincible. He suddenly raised his foot and stomped on Xian Hong's head. How dare you! Xian Hong's eyes were about to pop out. He wouldn't allow anyone to step on his head. But then he realized that Su Yan's ferocious aura was even stronger. It couldn't be changed. It was an invincible might that dominated the world. This stomp was unrivaled and unstoppable. It was as if the universe was pressing down on him. The pressure was earth-shattering. Blood gushed out as his body was torn apart. Xian Hong screamed. His entire body was shaking, and his knees were bending. He knelt on the ground, trembling and wailing. He felt like he was going to die. Some passers-by were stunned. Is this a Daesong? He suppressed Xian Hong, an emperor's domain expert, with just a stomp. The Chaos Immortal Elder's eyes were very sharp. This simple move contained endless mysteries and sublimations. This meant that this kid's combat power was quite incredible. The Chaos Immortal Elder looked at Su Yen again. He saw that Su Yen was different from what he had imagined. He had gone through a lot. However, he remembered that Su Yen came from the human world, a small figure without any foundation in the celestial world. It was amazing that he could stand at such a height. Puff! Xian Hong screamed. He couldn't resist. His body trembled as he knelt on the ground and wailed. He was about to die. Oh no, stop! In an instant, more than a dozen guards were furious. Su Yen was too arrogant, wasn't he? Suppressing law enforcement officers in the Skill Inheritance Hall and even having the intention to kill them had undoubtedly infuriated them. More than a dozen experts charged out. Some formed fist seals, some took out artifacts, and some performed great theurgies. After all, more than a dozen Emperor's domain experts had attacked. The area was completely chaotic. All kinds of destructive storms surged toward Su Yen. Boom! Su Yen stomped on the ground. In an instant, Xian Hong's body exploded. Those who block me will die. Su Yan's blood qi surged. The entire Technique Inheritance Hall was shaking and rumbling. Nothing could stop him. His belief was boundless, and he could defeat all enemies. Especially when he had obtained the Human Emperor's Sutra, he had the belief that he could defeat the Emperor's domain. What, that's? A group of guards who had resisted the urge to attack turned pale with fright. What kind of monster was this? Human Emperor or Demon Venerable? With a roar, boundless strength and Tao techniques filled the sky. The great treasure of heaven and earth opened. It was like an emperor or a demon. The roar caused more than a dozen emperors to tremble. One after another, they were sent flying and smashed into the door of the hall. There were even some weaker emperors whose bodies were torn apart. Su Yen doesn't just walk the path of the physical body. At this moment, the Tiangang king also rushed over. His expression was shocked. More than a dozen emperors couldn't suppress Su Yan's strength. His combat strength was truly heaven-defying. Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind, and blood soared into the sky. With his combat strength alone, he could sweep through everything and kill until the place bled. A large number of guards trembled. What kind of ferocious person was this? He started a massacre. Wasn't he afraid of implicating himself in a huge disaster and paying with his life? He's rebelling, a severely injured emperor roared. His eyes were bloodshot as he said, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and attack. Who dares to stop me?" Su Yan was no longer ethereal. His entire body was surging with killing intent. He had simply turned into a peerless god of war. Rivers of blood flowed under his feet, mountains of corpses and seas of blood. This was a natural phenomenon formed by his killing intent, but it contained the strongest and most domineering belief. Pft, pft, one after another, the severely injured emperors screamed. They couldn't stop him. They couldn't stop him at all. Some experts' bodies were trampled by Su Yan. Some cultivators' heads were pierced by Su Yan's emperor's war spear. There were also emperors whose foreheads were shattered by him. The group of enforcers who hadn't attacked were frightened. Since ancient times, who dared to do this? Who dared to start a massacre at the entrance of the Technique Inheritance Hall? They couldn't believe the bloody scene in front of them. Was this real? Boom. In the next moment, Su Yan waved his fist and instantly destroyed the entire blood-stained hall door. "Xianzhixing, your grandpa Su is here. Get out here!" Su Yan shouted angrily. He walked over in a pool of blood. His eyes were cold, and his killing intent was even stronger. He could kill all the creatures in the universe with a single thought. Xianzhixing, who was recuperating in the Technique Inheritance Hall, was shocked. Who was Grandpa Su? Could it be a big shot from the Immortal Elder Academy? He didn't dare to delay and hurried out. "Su!" When he noticed that it was Su Yan, his eyes turned red and his face turned purple. He shouted, "You little bastard, who let you in? Old bastard, you can't spit out ivory from a dog's mouth." Su Yan stepped into the Technique Inheritance Hall and looked around. He shouted coldly, "These people blocked my way and I killed them all. You're full of nonsense." Xianzhixing was furious. His eyes were fierce, and he walked out with murderous intent. He also felt uneasy. What was wrong with Su Yan? Did he have someone backing him up? Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to behave so atrociously here. But that shouldn't be the case. Even Phoenix King and the Old Monkey weren't Immortal Elders of the Immortal Elder Academy. As for Chaos Immortal Elders, they wouldn't make an enemy of Thunder Immortal Elder, right? "Xian Hong is dead," a guard said with a trembling voice. "What did you say?" Xianzhixing's body shook. He thought he heard wrong. Xian Hong was dead? Dead, Xian Hong was trampled to death by him. A guard pointed at Su Yan, and his hair stood on end. He repeated, "Trampled to death by him. Xian Hong is dead." Xianzhixing was a bit stunned. After all, he was a terrifying being. He saw the scene of blood outside, and his killing intent surged like a tsunami. He shouted, "Xian Hong is dead, Su Yan, you're going to die with him." His eyes were red, and he wanted to kill someone. He was about to lose his mind. The Xian family was also a top family in the Imperial City. It was mainly because Xianzhixing was in charge of the family. After all, he was a deacon of the Immortal Elder Academy. Although he wasn't an Immortal Elder, his status and position were too high. He had high hopes for Xian Hong, and he hoped that Xian Hong could become the successor of the family. After all, he was about to enter the Forbidden Realm. But Xian Hong was dead, and this made Xianzhixing lose his mind. He roared and rushed over, using all his power to suppress Su Yan. "Ignorant old dog, you want to kill me with a higher realm? Grandpa Su will suppress you with a flip of his palm." Su Yan waved his sleeve, and all kinds of unbelievable power were born. Chaotic divine waterfalls fell from the sky one after another, wrapped in the sun, moon, and stars, and the mysteries of chaos. It was like a sea of chaos built by the strongest law of order. It instantly pressed down, and the process became more and more intense. It contained the mysteries of chaos, and it filled the world with unparalleled killing intent. Suppress. Su Yen was as powerful as a chaotic saint. He waved his sleeve and attacked forward. Oh no, Xian Zhixing's expression changed drastically. He didn't forget the lesson of the furnace of suppression. He used all his power to resist Su Yan's killing intent. But what shocked him was that the aura in this sleeve rose again, shaking the universe. Even this forbidden creature couldn't help but feel scared, and his protective divine light collapsed layer by layer. Endless shadows of death shrouded over, with a scream, the sea of chaos covered his body, breaking all the bones in his body. His blood-stained body was directly sent flying, like a dead dog, and smashed into the door of the Technique Teaching Palace. 5th update, brothers, a big chapter, tears begging for monthly votes, begging for rewards. Chapter 1946. How's that possible? The guards cried out in shock. This scene was a little shocking. They knew that Su Yen had the furnace of suppression and was not afraid of taboo experts. However, this person could unleash such earth-shattering power with a casual wave of his sleeve. These enforcers trembled in fear. Su Yan's killing of a group of sovereigns had already shocked them. However, he had crossed an insurmountable realm and suppressed a taboo expert. Su Yen definitely had someone backing him. Otherwise, he would not be so fearless. He suppressed the Deputy Hall Master of the Skill Inheritance Hall just like that. Who was his backer? One had to know that every deacon of the Immortal Elder Academy had a close relationship with Elder Xian. They could not be touched at will. Xian Zhixing coughed up blood continuously. He looked terrible. The bones in his body were broken. His body fell close to the door. His trembling body was almost out of breath. He staggered to his feet. He was a little dizzy. His head was bleeding. When he saw Su Yen coming toward him, Xian Zhixing screamed, "You little B*****, how dare you attack me so ruthlessly? I can't let you live." Xian Zhixing was driven crazy. If this spread, he would not be able to face anyone. After all, Xian Zhixing was a taboo expert. When he went crazy, his entire body emitted billions of layers of divine might. It affected the universe and made it tremble. The immortal world was prosperous, and the cultivation level was extremely high. Usually, immortal kings looked down on the world, especially here in the imperial city. Taboo experts were not enough. However, taboo existences were still important figures. They could be called terrifying creatures. When they went crazy, the world rumbled and trembled. It affected even the distant world. Of course, Xian Zhixing would not rush forward directly. He took out a token and activated the Skill Inheritance Hall's killing formation. This was a peak killing formation. Once activated, it would kill even gods and Buddhas. As long as it was not an immortal king, anyone who was trapped inside would be turned into ashes. Give me your life. Xian Zhixing had really gone crazy. He activated the Skill Inheritance Hall's protective killing formation. The magnificent hall shone, revealing billions of killing sword rays that cut through the heavens and the 4 types of stars. Pinnacle killing formation, the energy fluctuations were too intense. The cultivators in the distant world were shocked. Billions of killing lights shot out from the source area. The moment they awakened with a howl, they cut through the sky and split the earth. The sky was filled with shards of the Great Tao, and they all slashed furiously at Su Yen. If this happened in the outside world, even an ancient realm would not be peaceful. Fortunately, they were on the Emperor's Star, where the heaven and earth were impenetrable, so it did not cause too much destruction. "Humph, old thing, how dare you disrespect me? Grandpa Su will teach you how to behave." Su Yan's expression was cold as he pressed forward step by step. He wasn't afraid at all and allowed the killing intent to slash at him. His body seethed with chaotic light, as if a sea of chaotic stars was gushing out, melting the great stars in the universe and destroying the endless sword light. This was the power of impenetrability. Su Yen leaped over like a chaos war god and let out a loud roar. Both of his palms slammed forward at the same time, causing the cultivation hall to shake violently. The killing sword order in the sky was shattered. Bang bang! The two palm prints were condensed from chaos and contained the immortal King Dao fruit. They were extremely grand and majestic, covering the entire cultivation hall. One could imagine how terrifying this was. The sky was trembling, and the universe was trembling. Kill! Su Yen roared. His palms slammed out, destroying all the killing order. In an instant, he attacked, causing Xianzhixing to fly backward. 2 bloody holes appeared in his chest, and his broken body slammed into the door of the hall, causing it to tremble violently again. The onlookers were stunned. What was going on? Who gave Su Yen the immortal king power in his body? This was definitely the power of an immortal king. It suppressed the killing formation of the cultivation hall and severely injured Xianzhixing again. No. Xianzhixing was terrified. Xianzhixing was a little frightened. He knew what kind of power Su Yen had. Who gave him the power of an immortal king? Could there be an immortal king around? Old dog, do you submit to Grandpa Su? Su Yen pressed forward and looked down at him. He directly raised his foot and stepped on Xianzhixing's chest. Ah, you little B******. Xianzhixing was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. It was a great humiliation to be stepped on by a Daesong. Since you're not convinced, I'll slap you. Su Yen picked up the severely injured Xianzhixing and slapped him left and right. Xianzhixing's old face was blooming, and it was too horrible to look at. B*****, someone, call for help, Xianzhixing wailed miserably. Since the day he became the law enforcer of the cultivation hall, no one dared to treat him like this. Now that he was beaten up by Su Yen again, his body was rotten and his face was beyond recognition. The teeth in his mouth flew out. Su Yan's blood was boiling. Beating up an outlawed powerhouse was simply too satisfying. He suppressed Xianzhixing with the Chaos Dao fruit. The forbidden power burned in his broken body and slapped him one after another, causing the nearby people to be stunned. This was too explosive. One slap after another. If this spread out, Xianzhixing would be too ashamed to face anyone. Xianzhixing was so angry that smoke came out of his body, and he was about to explode. You still dare to stare at me? Su Yen grabbed his hair and beat him again. Cough. At this time, a light cough was heard. It contained an earth-shattering power, and it shocked Su Yen. A black-robed old man appeared in the cultivation hall. He frowned, and his old face was a little ugly, but he did not dare to do anything. He naturally saw that the Chaos Immortal Elders were nearby, and he would definitely be stopped if he attacked. Hall Master! Xianzhixing looked as if he had seen his savior. His bleeding mouth made a beast-like sound. It was too painful. He said, Hall Master, you're finally here. This guy broke into the cultivation hall and tried to steal the Peerless Supreme technique. Hall Master, quickly suppress him. You're still full of nonsense. It seems that the slap just now was not intense enough. Su Yen was furious. He raised his hand and slapped the top of Xianzhixing's head. Xianzhixing fainted, and his head was about to be separated from his body. The cultivation hall master's face trembled slightly. He took a deep breath and bowed to the void. He said, Chaos Immortal Elder, what brings you here? Although he was also an immortal elder, he was not an immortal king. He was a powerful fake immortal king, but he still had to maintain absolute respect in front of a Chaos Immortal Elder. Boom! The void rumbled. Very soon, primordial chaos filled the skies. Dao arts appeared, divine and majestic, like a giant gate of primordial chaos blooming. An ancient and terrifying immortal king appeared. A pair of deep eyes stared at him as he coldly spoke. Since when can the Cultivation Inheritance Hall choose to ignore my orders? Am I muddle-headed? The Cultivation Hall master felt a headache, and he was a little nervous. He cupped his hands and said, "Chaos Immortal Elder, you must be joking. How can I ignore your orders? I just came here, and I don't know what happened." "You're trying to shirk your responsibility," the Chaos Immortal Elder said coldly. "A little Xianzhe saint, without your orders, would dare to disobey me?" The unconscious Xianzhe saint woke up. The moment he saw the Chaos Immortal Elder, he couldn't breathe and fainted again. The Technique Imparting Palace Master smiled bitterly. He was here to denounce Su Yan. Thunder Immortal Elder had mentioned it to him at that time. He thought that the two of them had already discussed it in private, but who knew that the Chaos Immortal Elder had no idea at all and had even stood up for Su Yan. At the same time, this also meant that the Chaos Immortal Elder valued Su Yan. "Let me give you a warning. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're an Immortal Elder of Immortal Elder Academy. The rules of Immortal Cave since ancient times can't be broken or violated. Otherwise, who would dare to believe in Immortal Elder Academy? Who would respect the core organization of Immortal World?" Seeing that he didn't answer, the Chaos Immortal Elder shouted, and the Cultivation Hall Master's body trembled. He endured the blood in his chest and swallowed it into his stomach. He said with a trembling voice, "This Xianzhe saint is too much. I think I should let you deal with him." The people around were dumbfounded. The Cultivation Hall Master surrendered directly. He couldn't bear the anger of the Chaos Immortal Elder. Xianzhe Saint was his right-hand man after all. Abandoning him directly was a nightmare for Xianzhe Saint. Tiangang King asked Baokai in private. After learning the inside story, he gasped and said in a low voice, "They're too bold. What kind of existence is the Chaos Immortal Elder?" The fifth Immortal Elder of Immortal Elder Academy is in charge of all the resources and secret realms outside Immortal Cave. Let Brother Su enjoy the treatment of the strongest seed, and they dare to refuse. In fact, even if it was someone else, the Chaos Immortal Elder wouldn't be able to sit still. This was a challenge to his authority. This was also telling the Cultivation Hall Master that he wasn't qualified to participate in the game of big shots. He didn't have the qualifications to secretly plot against them. If he didn't do it well, he would be burned and wouldn't even know how he died. No, the unconscious Xianzhe Saint woke up. He was in despair. The Chaos Immortal Elder stretched out a finger and pointed at his body. He cried out in despair. His body was broken. His life was cut and his life aura was greatly damaged. He simply fell from a taboo to an emperor. His body was breaking apart. "Throw him out," the Chaos Immortal Elder said coldly. "Those who abuse their authority don't have the qualifications to become Immortal Elder Academy's deacon. Chase him out of Immortal Elder Academy as a warning." Xianzhe Saint was so angry he spat out a large mouthful of blood and fainted. He might as well have been beaten up by the Chaos Immortal Elder. In short, he had lost his identity. This was a huge matter. Back then, Xian family relied on Xianzhe Saint to act tyrannically, provoking many people. Now that he had fallen to this state and provoked a Chaos Immortal Elder, one could imagine what would happen in the future. What kind of miserable fate would that be? His entire family might be implicated. The surroundings were in an uproar. He was directly crippled. This punishment was just too severe. F***ck. Some deacons wiped their cold sweat, frightened. This made them a bit scared. Once the Immortal Elder was angry, what were they? There were some who inwardly rejoiced. Fortunately, they didn't provoke Su Yan, or else their fates wouldn't be much better than Xianzhe Saint's. Baokai called for Sky Dipper King to throw him out. Sky Dipper King hesitated slightly, and then he clenched his teeth. throwing Xian Jacint out of Immortal Elder Academy. This was equivalent to showing his loyalty. In the future, he would stand together with Su Yan and the others. Xian Jacint was crippled. Along the way, a great commotion was stirred up. When Thunder Immortal Elder received the news, he was truly furious. He slapped the table and released a thunderous roar. This was killing a chicken to warn the monkeys. The Chaos Immortal Elder is going too far. Thunder Immortal Elder's son was beaten to death by Su Yan, yet he, a Chaos Immortal Elder, is still so protective of Su Yan. Who doesn't know that the Skill Inheritance Palace Master was promoted by Thunder Immortal Elder? The Vice Palace Master was crippled, so the Skill Inheritance Palace Master's position was a bit unstable. The experts from Thunder Immortal Elder's bloodline were all furious. The Chaos Immortal Elder acted swiftly and decisively, crippling Xian Jacint. This was undoubtedly a type of warning, and he didn't ask for Thunder Immortal Elder's opinion during the process. When the Phoenix King learned of this, he was greatly shaken. It seemed like the Chaos Immortal Elder attached great importance to Su Yan. At the same time, they didn't hold a position in Immortal Elder Academy, so it was hard for them to help Su Yan in Immortal Cave. Master, with Su Yan's strength, if he wins in the Immortal Devil battlefield, it won't be anything good. There were experts from this bloodline kneeling outside. Thunder Immortal Elder was already furious, his face extremely overcast. His son, the Tenrai of Beach, came out of seclusion in this era, moreover paid a great price to complete the Tao, all for the sake of making him the #1 person in this era. This way, the future Tenrai of Beach, with his help, could also smoothly become an Immortal Elder of Immortal Elder Academy, inherit his identity and position, thus ensuring that this bloodline's influence in Immortal Cave would continue. Endless years passed like this. After all, back then, they were part of the bloodline that built Immortal Cave. If there was no successor, then the efforts their ancestors spent would be wasted. I didn't expect that a small Su Yan would make me so angry. I still can't let go of Little Lei's death, but he fell in the Immortal King bestowed battle. It was a fair battle, so it's not good for me to come out and suppress Su Yan too much to prevent others from talking behind my back. The Chaos Immortal Elder has already become serious. If we continue fighting, it will be detrimental to this old man's reputation. This is a stain on my future path as an Immortal Elder. Thunder Immortal Elder's expression was overcast. He still wanted to improve, become a second Immortal Elder, or even a great Immortal Elder. At this time, Thunder Immortal Elder closed his eyes, transmitting a sentence. Su Yan, this old man originally wanted to give him a chance to become a talent, but since he doesn't know how to restrain himself, I think he shouldn't participate in the Immortal Devil Great Battle. Didn't the Dark Realm issue a challenge? Let the Empress and the others come out. Who was he? Immortal Elder Academy's third Immortal Elder. It could be said that he stood at the top of the pyramid of the immortal world. Regardless of identity or status, he was qualified to speak with a titled Emperor. The impact of this person's decision would be shocking. The experts of the Tenrai of Beach's lineage cried out in horror. Was the sky going to be turned upside down? If the Empress and the others were released, it was hard to imagine what kind of terrifying event would happen in the Immortal Cave. The protagonists of various eras would gather and fiercely collide. After all, people like the Empress had always been sealed in a Tao cave. Once the seal was lifted, the others would also come out, and this Immortal Demon Great Battle would be glorious to the extreme. In an ordinary Immortal Demon Great Battle, the Empress and the others would not come out at all, because once the Tao cave was unsealed, the price to reseal it was too shocking. After all, people like them had to use the strongest sealing methods, not allowing a trace of potential to be lost. A perfect seal would definitely cost a great price. After all, it went against the order of the immortal world. Master, if we do this, will it threaten the Tenrai of Beach? Some experts hesitated. Wouldn't this steal the Tenrai of Beech's limelight? It's fine. My son Dalei has the potential to be invincible. He's not necessarily inferior to the Empress. Su Yan can't stand out too much. Otherwise, the world will point at Su Yan and say that he killed my son Little Lei and surpassed my son Dalei. Thunder Immortal Elder was very calm, and his words were very clear. There was no need to hide things from his own people. Although the Tenrai of Beech lost the battle for supremacy of the First Mountain, the Tenrai of Beech did not stand at the peak of the Daesong. He was still breaking through in the land of fortune. In order to nurture the Tenrai of Beech, an unimaginable amount of wealth had been spent. It was equivalent to being nurtured by the heavens. In addition, after the Tao derivation, the Tenrai of Beech's level of strength was unimaginable. Once he could compete with the Empress and the others, the Tenrai of Beech's prestige would be even greater. In fact, once the Empress and the others took action, Su Yan, the barbarian god, and the others would have to stand aside. They would not be able to participate in the immortal demon great battle with the Empress and the others. De Zhang. Chapter 1947. The Dark World has deployed another large army. They are crazy. The celestial world will accompany them to the end. Kill. The 10 battlefields were filled with mountains of corpses and seas of blood. The ground was littered with corpses and seas of blood. Daesong roared and emperors fought with their lives on the line. Their battle cries shook the heavens and earth. This was a bloody battle between different races. There was no way out. They could only advance and kill their enemies. The celestial world deployed various armies to reinforce them. The Dark World's attacks were getting more and more frightening. It had already exceeded the expectations of the various celestial sects commanders. Moreover, several years had passed, but the Dark World did not give them any time to breathe. The number of fallen soldiers was immeasurable. Every magnificent battlefield was filled with earth-shattering battles. There was no peaceful place. The boundless sky was dyed red with blood. The ground was filled with corpses, piled up like mountains. East Demon was riddled with wounds. After more than 10 years of bloody battle, his realm had long climbed to Daesong's level. He had already become one of the leading experts of the Celestial Phoenix Army. Originally, he only had 1,000 soldiers under his command. However, this person had accumulated monstrous battle achievements. His might was great in the 3rd battlefield. Many stragglers came to join East Demon's command. Fan Jian was also powerful and prosperous. He attracted many people who admired him to join. Gradually, the army under East Demon's command reached 5,000 soldiers. This made the veterans of the Celestial Phoenix Army extremely happy. Back then, the Phoenix King had fought his way up step by step. He had fought for 10,000 years on the battlefield. He was a heaven-sent god. He was invincible and had gathered millions of soldiers during his heyday. East Demon exuded a terrifying demonic aura. He was majestic and intimidating. He held a spear dripping with blood. His eyes were like the 9 hells of purgatory. Fan Jian wanted to vomit when he saw corpses. After more than 10 years of bloody battle, he originally wanted to return to recuperate and participate in the First Mountains meeting. However, the Dark World had too many enemies. He had no choice but to stay and participate in the battle. Good news! Yang Hui was excited. He roared, "Brothers, listen up. Su Yan dominates the First Mountain's summit. Dominates the First Mountain's summit," he roared continuously. Many soldiers of the Celestial Phoenix Army were stunned. Then, they shouted in unison. Their roars rumbled and tore apart the blood-stained starry sky. This bloody battlefield rumbled and trembled. Ha ha ha! Su Yan dominates the summit of the First Mountain, while Baokai ranks 4th on the First Mountain. The East Demon threw his head back and roared with laughter. This was truly a great thing. More than 10 years had passed, and he was constantly worried about Su Yan and the others. In fact, it wasn't just him. Tai Baokai had also ascended to the peak of the First Mountain. In other words, Su Yen was already qualified to participate in the Great War of the Immortals and Demons. However, what Fan Jian found strange was, where was Zixia? There was also Bamboo Moon. After obtaining the Immortal King Dao fruit, the two of them were so quiet. Of course, these were secondary. The most important thing was that the monster Long Daesong had disappeared without a trace. East Demon felt that they were hiding their strength and biding their time. The people of the human realm couldn't be too bright. They had to hide what they needed to hide. Otherwise, the immortal realm would suspect that they had a powerful background behind them. Go back and tell the Dark World that Su Yen will definitely participate in the battle, definitely. The immortal Phoenix Army's fighting spirit was ignited. The army charged forward crazily, and their killing intent swept across millions of li. One had to know that during this time, the Dark World was releasing intense dissatisfaction and anger towards the 10 great contestants that the Immortal Academy had sent out. This thoroughly angered the immortal realm. The Dark World was too arrogant, saying that only the Heavenly Dragon Girl was worthy of their attention, and that they didn't put the others in their eyes. When these words were heard by the commanders of the various immortal sects, they were all furious. At the same time, they felt a bit uneasy. The Dark World was coming aggressively, and there was most likely a formidable peak overlord among them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have repeatedly asked the Empress and the others to participate in the battle. Were they going to devour all the final seeds of the Immortal Cave in one go? What does one Su Yen count for? He's just someone that my World King Beast wants to kill. Its target isn't some Su Yen, but the Heavenly Energy King's group of peak experts. An expert from the Dark World gave a cold reply. Tell the Immortal Cave, don't think that our Dark World is joking. Otherwise, when the time comes, we'll lose 10 out of 10 battles. I think your immortal realm shouldn't participate in the Great War of the Immortals and Demons in the future. Just admit defeat. Shameless boasting, hand over your life. East Demon roared loudly, and a ferocious aura erupted from his body. He was incredibly brave, and boundless holy power was released from his body. It swept across all directions, and he slaughtered his way through. He led the deity Phoenix Army to launch a powerful counterattack, and ruthlessly cut down their arrogance. Kill, we'll win every battle. Kill, we'll win every battle. Kill, we'll be invincible. A large number of warriors roared, and their blood boiled. The people in the nearby army were greatly shocked. In fact, the immortal realm had all kinds of geniuses, and the immortal cave was full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. In the 10 major battlefields, there were rarely any overlords or war gods. Once they appeared, they would be hunted down by the Dark World. Hence, the East Demon was famous in the 3rd battlefield, and he was even a war king. The 10 major battlefields were in chaos one after another. The Dark World was too arrogant, and the news they sent wasn't good, because they didn't know what the Dark World's trump card was. This was a ridiculous thing that had never happened before. They were going to make the Immortal Cave's most powerful trump card that had been accumulated over the years come out. In the past, when the Immortal Devil Great War started, once the Empress and the others joined the battle, it would be a great threat to the Dark World. However, this time, the Dark World couldn't wait to have them join the battle, proving how serious the problem was. The storm was so fierce. If they really lost miserably, it would be a heavy blow to the immortal world. Immortal Cave, Technique Inheritance Hall. The Chaos Immortal Elder was bold and decisive, not leaving any face for the Technique Inheritance Hall Master. He directly appointed a new Technique Inheritance Hall Vice Hall Master. This was his personal disciple, and he also held an important position in the Immortal Elder Academy. The Technique Inheritance Hall Master could only smile bitterly. He was in the wrong first, so he couldn't say anything and could only watch. Song Guo, bring Su Yen to receive the unmatched Dragon Wrestling Technique Inheritance. The Chaos Immortal Elder was clear about this unmatched physique technique. Very few in the Immortal Cave grasped this physique technique. With Su Yan's attainments in the physical body, Once he grasped it, he would be like a tiger that had grown wings. Songwa's figure was tall, and he wore a black robe. He was imposing without being angry. He had received many inheritances from the Chaos Immortal Elder, and his entire body was faintly emitting chaos heavenly might. He was a peak Forbidden Realm expert. He looked at Su Yen. To be valued by the Chaos Immortal Elder, this person must be extraordinary. Thank you, Chaos Immortal Elder. Senior Songwa, please take care. Su Yen hesitated for a moment and then said, I want to wait for tomorrow's ranking. Hearing this, the Chaos Immortal Elder smiled and transmitted, You don't have to worry. There were many Immortal Elders who supported you in the meeting just now. Tiangang King is not weak after all. Once the Great Immortal Demon War began, it would be a major event in the immortal world. Once one won, the rewards would be terrifying. Tens of millions of points were nothing. The most important thing was that one could use any immortal cave to cultivate. Moreover, the Immortals Cave's various peerless powers would also give a great discount. The Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique was not the most expensive. There were hundreds of peerless great powers in the Immortals Cave, and some terrifying secret techniques would easily cost hundreds of thousands of points to cultivate for a day. This also led to many confident young overlords fighting to participate in the Great Immortal Demon War of the past. Although the risk was great, once one won, the rewards would be amazing. If one could get the support of a group of immortal elders, it would not be difficult to participate. Songwa frowned slightly. Wasn't Su Yen a little too confident? One had to know that among the top 10 participants in the Great Immortal Demon War, Tiandao King and the others were first-class experts, ranked among the strongest in the immortal world. Of course, he also admired Su Yan's determination to participate in the war. It fostered an invincible belief, and the future path of an expert would be smooth. At this moment, Songwa held the Vice Hall Master's token in his hand, and opened the Unmatched Dragon Wrestling Technique Cultivation Secret Technique. Only 2. Songwa was speechless. These 2 tokens were worth 200,000 points, and he suggested that Su Yen continue to exchange for a few more. I've spent them all. Songwa was speechless, and could not be bothered to explain to Su Yen. He knew that the fastest to cultivate the Unmatched Dragon Wrestling Technique was the Heavenly Dragon Lady, who took a full 6 days. However, the Heavenly Dragon Lady was a dragon race expert, and was very suitable for cultivating the Unmatched Dragon Wrestling Technique. On the other hand, if Su Yen wanted to cultivate it, he would need at least 1,000,000 points. This was a terrifying amount of wealth. Su Yen had arrived, and stepped into the dusty ancient stone hall. The hall door was shut tight. Su Yan's black hair draped over his shoulders, and the Chaos Immortal Elder's power dissipated on its own. He returned to normal, and instantly felt an extremely shocking pressure. The stone hall had a very strong sense of pressure, and it did not originate from the stone hall itself, but from the pitch-black and tall metallic man standing inside. Su Yan's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. The path of puppetry? The pitch-black metallic man's body was huge, and it stood before him like a black demonic mountain. This deterrence alone was enough to shock the world. Su Yen walked closer to observe. His heaven's eyes were blazing brightly. Soon, he could see that the surface of the black metal man was covered in dense symbols. The symbols were so dense that they seemed to be filled with a destructive tide. Su Yen could almost instantly see where the metallic man's energy was. The sky was covered in dense patterns, and it was extremely profound. Ordinary experts would need a long time to see through the Unmatched Dragon Wrestling Technique. However, Su Yen was different. He had obtained a great opportunity in the Copper Hall, and Su Yen immediately saw through the mystery of the black metallic man's existence. This was definitely the effort of an expert among experts. It was inscribed with blood. No wonder it required 100,000 points to observe for a day. After all, the observation process would deplete the power of the inscribed supreme art. Every day was extremely important. When Su Yen saw the entire picture, the black metallic man had changed. It was like a heavenly devil, the overlord of heaven and earth. It emitted an unparalleled power that could easily destroy the universe. Boom! Su Yen sensed the terrifying danger of death. It was like a dormant demon master breaking through. It was so powerful that heaven and earth trembled. Endless deterrence swept through Su Yan's body and mind. No wonder he needed to pass through the celestial dragon realm to be qualified to cultivate the unmatched dragon wrestling technique. This supreme art was so weak that he was not qualified to explore it. What a powerful secret art! Su Yan's eyes flashed with surprise. This was a body art? A terrifying aura erupted from the body. Unmatched dragon wrestling technique, first move. The metallic man's body was filled with unmatched power. The dense patterns covering his flesh stirred up his most primitive divine power. The heavens and earth were shaking as if they were completely destroyed. The pressure was terrifying. If Su Yan's body was not so strong, he would have a hard time standing still. In his eyes, the black metallic man's body was terrifying, and it filled the world. With a loud roar, the sky would crack, and the boundless earth would collapse. This was almost a state of madness, and it originated from the divine power bestowed upon him by the profound meaning of the body art. Unmatched dragon wrestling technique, second move. In an instant, the heavens and earth changed. The aura of destruction bloomed, and the murderous intent was boundless. This was a kind of boundless power that could even kill a true dragon and pierce through the heavens. The black metallic man roared, and the energy in his body surged. Layer after layer rose from the ground like a tsunami and rushed toward the outerverse. Boom! This terrifying scene was like returning to prehistoric times, arriving at a time when the heavens and earth were in chaos. The black god of war roared, and his indestructible body was like a super-killing machine. The sky was filled with corpses, and the true dragon's body was broken. It could be said that there was nothing it could not break. With his indestructible body, he could crush everything. Unmatched dragon wrestling technique, third move. Su Yen said each word in a low voice. His blood was boiling as he saw a peerless demon with a blazing figure behind him that looked down on the vast universe. The third move was even more murderous. It filled the entire world and made people tremble. Su Yen roared. He was not afraid of the deterrence. Instead, his blood began to boil with the battle intent of the unmatched dragon wrestling technique. Kill! This person roared, and the heavens and earth resonated. The whole world was shaking toward him. If this was in the outside world, it would be like the universe was rumbling and the world was spinning. It penetrated his body, and his tyrannical combat power soared by a large margin. Every attack he waved was difficult to distance. The pressure surged, spread, and finally pressed down. It made Su Yen feel suffocated. This was the great power contained in the human body. It could push back tens of thousands of enemies, make the heavens and earth bleed, and the great Tao wailed. The true dragon's body fell from the sky as if it had descended upon the world of immortals. This was a truly flawless, peerless ability. Between the heavens and earth, the destructive aura was gradually extinguished. The black metallic man gradually returned to a state of silence. He only had the chance to evolve the unmatched dragon wrestling technique once a day. He had to rely on himself to comprehend the rest. The unmatched dragon wrestling technique had a total of 3 killing moves. The first move targeted the strength of the flesh. In fact, the first level of cultivation of the flesh would increase tremendously. After all, this was a combination of the mysterious and unfathomable power of the body, and the treasure of the human body was revealed. This was not the first time Su Yen came into contact with the inheritance of a body technique. However, the heavenly palm was too extraordinary. It contained the supreme profundity of operating the heavens. Speaking of which, Su Yan had not cultivated any body technique until now. However, Su Yan was already familiar with the profundity of body technique. What he had gained in the 3 years in the Copper Hall had already changed part of the direction of Su Yan's future path of becoming a powerful expert. His eyes were blazing as he looked at the metallic puppet. The dense patterns on the surface of the puppet's body formed one after another. As he looked at them, they seemed to have turned into humanoid war gods. They looked vivid and lifelike. The one who inscribed the unmatched dragon wrestling technique must be a peerless expert. While he was looking at them, he had to endure a great pressure. At the same time, the profundity of the human body's treasure was also described. It caused Su Yan's qi and blood to surge violently. Su Yan sat cross-legged between the heavens and earth. His body glowed from time to time. His qi and blood surged from time to time. His flesh shell flashed with resplendent patterns. If an outsider saw this scene, they would definitely be shocked. Su Yan had only just started to observe, and he had already sorted out part of the profundity. This was naturally closely related to the inheritance he had obtained in the Copper Hall. It had laid a strong foundation for Su Yan. Another great chapter. Chapter 1948. Body arts contained the mysteries of the human body. The Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique was a first-class ability. Su Yan observed, deduced, and put it into practice. Buzz! Su Yan's body shone with divine light. It was as if a strange radiance was surrounding his body. It was also as if imprints were branded on his body. These were special engraved patterns. They were in pieces and looked like complicated words being inscribed. It was as if they were turning into heavy armor. They were hazy with mysterious radiance. They were colorful and mysterious. The more Su Yan inscribed, the more majestic the aura emitted from his body. His flesh and blood were trembling. Layers of unique engraved patterns seemed to have penetrated his bones and blood, trying to penetrate his entire body. Body arts contained the mysteries of the human body. The engraved patterns in the sky were like special scriptures that were being recited. The deeper he comprehended, the more he could discover the mysteries contained in these engraved patterns. It affected Su Yan's flesh and blood, causing his body to glow constantly. In the end, it was burning like a big furnace. His flesh and blood was becoming somewhat transparent. What's this? Su Yan thought to himself. He felt that he had changed. It was as if he had turned into a weapon. It was also as if he had turned into a great killing weapon that could pierce through heaven and earth. There was a kind of comprehension and also a kind of incomprehension. It was like a flash of inspiration in his mind. Then, it slowly returned to nothingness. In an instant, Su Yan's body was blazing to the extreme. It was as if he had turned into an immortal sun. It lay in the middle of the stone hall, illuminating heaven and earth. It was about to erupt with unparalleled heavenly power, shatter the shackles of heaven and earth, and destroy the universe and starry sky. Roar! Su Yan's body was emitting dragon roars. Brilliant light rushed out of his pores. It was as if 10,000 dragons had left their bodies. His flesh and blood was as if it was made out of gold. It was filled with a strong sense of power. It actually contained an indestructible power. He was like a golden creature that looked extremely powerful and domineering. What a powerful body art! Su Yan's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. Body arts were too mysterious. He had clearly comprehended the profoundness, but he could not tell what it was. Everything was hidden in the body, like the most instinctive and primitive power of a human, and it belonged to him. Su Yan felt that all of this wasn't the first strike of the Supreme Fighting Dragon technique. Instead, it was De Li's strength that belonged to him. Then, the Supreme Fighting Dragon technique dissipated, and Su Yan returned to normal. He suddenly stood up, and his body suddenly glowed. It was a dazzling golden light, as if he was a living emperor. His body was blazing like an immortal sun, emitting a world-shaking aura. The energy in his body is burning, and the treasures are operating. It's as if they have turned into battle armor. Su Yen took out a Daesong weapon and slashed at his arm, but it did not even leave a mark. The Daesong weapon immediately broke apart. Su Yen was moved. This was a physical technique. Once one grasped it, they would be able to activate the body's treasures and obtain a sufficiently powerful physique. Physical techniques are broad and profound. They originate from one's own body. He exclaimed. He did not know what kind of person had created this physical technique. It contained unimaginable effects and was almost equivalent to an invincible body. In short, he could enter the physical technique state at will. His body shone with a golden brilliance and contained a terrifying power. Cultivating the supreme fighting dragon technique was only the first stage. Only by mastering it could one be qualified to master the Tao of Slaughter. In short, he was at the entry level of the supreme fighting dragon technique. He calculated that half a day had passed. Su Yen knew very well that this fast mastery had something to do with the Yuntian palm. Soon, he focused his attention on the Metal Man. The first form was fully activated, which stimulated the Metal Man to unleash the second form. If that's the case, the second level is even more profound, but it can only be derived from the foundation of the first level. Su Yen thought to himself as he pondered over the second transformation. He realized that no matter how the supreme fighting dragon technique evolved, it was inextricably linked to the Yuntian palm. This surprised Su Yen. He murmured, "Perhaps the Yuntian palm contains all the mysteries of physical techniques. That's why it's so difficult to understand and comprehend." At this moment, Su Yen finally understood the value of the heavenly revolving palm. Just by understanding it, it was like becoming a grandmaster of the body technique lineage. With regards to the body technique series' secret techniques, one could understand everything. Therefore, the speed at which Su Yen grasped it was extremely fast. The more he deduced, the more shocking the storm that surged from his blazing golden body was. There was a terrifying feeling of power leaking out, and the chi and blood all over his body became vast and mighty. Boom! The golden chi and blood surged like a burning furnace. It exploded fiercely and filled the entire stone hall. When it came down, it was so vast that it could cover the mountains and rivers of the universe. Su Yen was no longer ethereal. He contained a peerless domineering aura. His entire body surged with the light of chi and blood. It was as if he had turned into a golden tsunami. Layer by layer, he was going to destroy the universe. Roar! Su Yen looked up to the sky and roared. The golden divine power on the ground surged violently and soared into the sky. It was as if the 9 heavens starry sea was pouring into the 9 heavens. It was filled with unparalleled power. Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique. Su Yen became stronger and stronger. In the blink of an eye, he had completely changed. His aura became grand and majestic. He suddenly rose from the ground like a jade-like comet that could strike the ends of heaven and earth. What a powerful secret technique! Su Yen laughed loudly. He struck the heavens and earth. The stone hall was heavy and ancient. It could withstand the impact of Daesong's power. The sky was filled with deafening divine sounds. Su Yen exploded with all his might. He only felt carefree and unrestrained. It was as if the treasures of the human body were fully activated. Su Yan's greatest advantage was unleashed. It was also as if he had blasted open the shackles and could freely roam between heaven and earth. However, Su Yen soon discovered a problem. In the state of the body technique, his body's consumption was huge. It was like burning one's life in battle. The longer one maintained the peak state, the more serious the damage to the human body would be. This surprised Su Yen. Could this be the reason for the decline of the body cultivator lineage? Heaven and earth could no longer satisfy the needs of this lineage. It could only slowly decline until now, or Su Yen felt that this was very likely. After all, the ancestors of the Emperor clan in the wilderness specialized in body cultivation. Now that the clan had changed their cultivation path, the barbarian god still believed in the glory and pinnacle of the body cultivator lineage. Otherwise, he would not have risked his life to climb the mountain. The mysterious skeleton had once said that the environment of the immortal world was not as good as before. This meant that there were fewer spiritual items. Body cultivators needed large amounts of supplements to strengthen themselves and maintain their cultivation. Was this why this lineage was slowly declining? However, Su Yan's foundation was strong. He could maintain this state for a long time and was not worried about his losses being too great. The Supreme Fighting Dragon technique is already strong enough. I'll find a chance to cultivate other secret technique. The Immortal's Cave has many peerless divine abilities. There might be some that can suppress the Supreme Fighting Dragon technique. Su Yan thought to himself. No one would complain about having too many divine abilities. There was no harm in having more. The Immortal's Cave had a large number of peerless inheritances. Although it required a large amount of points, he could always accumulate them by exploring some training ground. The first day has passed. I wonder if he's seen through the first level? Songhua had been waiting outside for Su Yan for a day and a night. Although Songhua had not come into contact with the Supreme Fighting Dragon technique, according to his understanding, the second level of the Supreme Fighting Dragon technique had reached the second level. It was said that the Heavenly Power King had not comprehended the Supreme Fighting Dragon technique. It was said that the Heavenly Power King had not comprehended the third level. This showed how difficult it was to cultivate this secret technique. Very few disciples in the Immortal's Cave would choose to cultivate this body technique. According to his understanding, this body technique was very difficult to cultivate. The first level was easy, but the second level was difficult. Su Yan had only exchanged for it for 2 days. Songhua was worried for Su Yan. As for the third level, even the Heavenly Energy King found it difficult to comprehend. Perhaps it had something to do with one's cultivation realm. At this moment, Su Yan had already begun to cultivate the third level. This was the true core power of the divine ability. It could easily erupt with the power to kill a true dragon. It was ridiculously powerful. Every movement contained the power of heaven and earth, the great mysteries of the human body's treasury. The rankings have been decided. That day, the entire Immortal's Cave was in an uproar. The second ranking was decided. This was an extremely rare event. The 10 great battlefields frequently transmitted bad news. The Dark World had always been provoking the Immortal World. The Immortal Elder Academy could not sit idly by, or else it would affect the morale of the 10 great battlefields. They were not surprised that the Immortal Elder Academy decided to decide the rankings again. Even if the Phoenix King and the others did not appear, they would still decide the 10 great war god participants. Hong. A heaven-overflowing golden list flew out from the Immortal Elder Academy in an instant, directly rushing towards the Immortal's Cave. The instant it unfolded, a terrifying fluctuation was released. It was as if 10 great matchless war gods walked out from the list. How is this possible? All creatures were shaken. They cried out in alarm continuously. They felt a headache, and they were also alarmed. Soon after, their blood surged. Even the Sky Dipper King was scared stiff, his eyes widening. Baokai was shocked. His eyes scanned the entire list, and his expression quickly became ugly. The entire Immortal's Cave had already gone crazy. The various elders were all stupefied. Some of them even felt that the Immortal Elder Academy had gone crazy. Did he bring out all of his family's resources? Empress, Immortal Monarch, Heavenly Eye Vision King, Heavenly Sovereign King, Heavenly Dragon Lady, Heavenly Force King. A few people's voices were trembling. What kind of ghost was this? There were more than 10 unmatched seeds hibernating in the Emperor Star's most powerful Dao cave, and there were also over 100 in the outer regions. Now, a total of 6 unmatched war gods directly stepped out from the core regions to participate in the great war of immortals and devils. These people were glorious legends. Every single one of them had won at least 4 or 5 great wars. Heavenly Tao King, Heavenly Martial King, Heavenly Sky King, Tenrai of Beach. There were even more people who roared. These 4 were also unmatched heavenly geniuses of the present world. Every single one of them was a glorious individual. The Phoenix King and Old Monkey's expressions became ugly. Thunder Immortal Elder, who had always advocated avoiding the Dark World's excessively powerful edge, directly became the pro-war faction. He secretly opened the Tao Cave and awakened the 6 slumbering unmatched overlords. Heavenly Monkey King, what do you think? The Phoenix King was a bit annoyed. He didn't say anything about these people, only the Tenrai of Beach remained. What else is there to say? Since Thunder Immortal Elder dotes on his son and feels that the Tenrai of Beach is already unmatched under the heavens, then let's completely shed all pretense of cordiality. The Heavenly Monkey King's voice was gloomy. Let Su Yen and the Tenrai of Beach compete. As for who is stronger and who is weaker, we'll know with a single look. Was there anything unexpected about this? Su Yen stepped onto the peak of the first mountain and obtained great fortunes and opportunities that even Empress and the others couldn't obtain. Suddenly, the Tenrai of Beach could stand shoulder to shoulder with Empress and Su Yen. There were still some areas where there was a huge disparity between him and Su Yen. It's the beginning of the month, brothers, please vote for me. Chapter 1949. After opening the sealed stone hall, Su Yen felt a little tired. His hair was messy, and he walked out with a frown. After 2 days and 2 nights, Su Yen felt that his body had been hollowed out, and he felt a little weak. Song Gua had been guarding outside the door. Seeing Su Yan's absent-minded appearance, he immediately comforted him. It's only been 2 days. The Supreme Fighting Dragon technique isn't that easy to cultivate. Brother Su Yen, I think you should quickly accumulate points. Next time you come, you must exchange for more time. Song Guo was also very clear that the Supreme Fighting Dragon technique required 100,000 points a day to cultivate. This was not a small number. However, the Supreme Inheritance was extremely precious. It was a Supreme Inheritance that couldn't be bought with money, so 100,000 points was naturally not considered expensive. Of course, he was afraid that it would be wasted. Song Gua had seen a lot of people in the past who had accumulated a huge amount of points but couldn't cultivate the Supreme Inheritance and wasted them. This also proved that it was extremely difficult for ordinary people to master this secret technique. Oh! Su Yen came back to his senses. He scratched his head and smiled bitterly. I didn't expect the 3rd level to be so difficult to cultivate. After pondering for so long, I still have no clue. I've troubled Brother Song Gua. What did you say? Song Gua was stunned. The 3rd level? What 3rd level? Could it be that he had already mastered the first 2 levels? Song Gua looked as if he had seen a ghost. Su Yen, who had a lot on his mind, didn't notice that the 3rd level's difficulty had exceeded Su Yan's expectations. After racking his brain for an entire day, he still hadn't made much progress. He felt that after stepping into the Emperor realm, it was relatively easier to grasp the 3rd level. However, once he cultivated the 3rd level, it would be of great help to Su Yen. He wouldn't give up so easily. Su Yen, have you cultivated the first 2 levels? Song Gua asked again. Yes, the first 2 levels are relatively easy, but the 3rd level is too difficult. Su Yen frowned and said, as expected of a supreme technique. This body technique is really tyrannical. Once mastered, it's amazing. At this point, Su Yan's words revealed his excitement. This made Song Gua's eyes widen, and he was a little dazed. What was going on? What did he mean by relatively easy? You're making the Heavenly Power King and the others suffer. To be honest, Song Gua didn't really believe it. But he was still a young man that even a Chaos Immortal Elder thought highly of. Thus, he led Su Yen out of the training hall. "You're finally out," Tai Baokai was waiting in the Technique Inheritance Hall. The Tiangang King had also arrived. Both of their expressions were somewhat abnormal. "What's wrong?" Su Yen frowned. He walked over and asked, "What are you doing here? By the way, has the ranking been decided yet?" Baotsai's face darkened and he said angrily, "Don't mention it. The list has been decided, but you're not on it. Not even Barbarian God's brother is on it." "What did you say? The God of Berserkers and I aren't on the list?" Su Yan's expression darkened. They had agreed that those who ascended the first mountain would be given 3 spots to participate in the battle, but neither he nor the Barbarian God had managed to get a spot. Could it be that the Tenrai of Beach had gotten one? "Brother Su, the Tenrai of Beach has gotten a spot." The Tiangang King sighed. He felt that Su Yen was very strong and had a chance of winning the Great War of Immortals and Demons. However, he couldn't figure out why the Tenrai of Beach had gotten a spot when even Su Yen, who dominated the first place, couldn't get a spot. This matter had also caused a stir in the Immortal Cave. No one dared to question the princess and the others' participation in the battle, but Su Yen was the expert who dominated the first mountain. Now, the new ranking had made it seem like Su Yen was inferior to the Tenrai of Beach. If news of this got out, the world would question the value of the first mountain. "I reckon that Su Yen isn't willing to participate in the Great War of Immortals and Demons. Think about it, he's from the human world after all. He can't risk his life for the immortal world." Someone's words were cold and unpleasant. Otherwise, why wouldn't Su Yen get the treatment of a pinnacle hero? "I heard that he rejected it, but I really don't believe that he would be willing to reject such a temptation." These words caused quite a commotion. Some felt that it made sense, but others said in a low voice, "I don't think so. Most of you don't know that Su Yen severely injured the demonic feather with one punch. At the first mountain, he rejected becoming a disciple of the Immortal Cave in front of everyone, but strongly requested to participate in the Great War of Immortals and Demons." "I've heard about this too." Another person stood out and said, "This Great War of Immortals and Demons is no small matter. The princess and the others are destined to come out of seclusion. A total of 6 invincible and glorious pinnacle overlords. It's clear that the Immortal Elder Academy values this Great War of Immortals and Demons. They have the belief of winning all 10 battles. The Dark World is being overbearing. Our immortal world will definitely give them a powerful counterattack." Another purple-clothed man stood out and coldly shouted, "Su Yen is powerful, but after all, he came from a barren land in the lower realms. He doesn't have much of a foundation. Our immortal cave has a matchless great divine ability. Any one of them can shock the heavens and earth and make ghosts and deities weep, but they are also extremely difficult to cultivate. Su Yen wants to grasp this type of divine ability in a short period of time, but the Tenrai of Beach is different." That's right. I heard that Su Yen already went to cultivate the Supreme Dragon Wrestling technique. However, he only exchanged for 2 days. Someone sneered. 2 days? This child is truly arrogant enough. It seems like he really hasn't seen a matchless divine ability. It seems like the Immortal Elder Academy's choice was correct. A group of cultivators in the gathering shook their heads. Since the Immortal Elder Academy brought out such a powerful foundation this time, they definitely wouldn't allow any failure factors to exist. "Hurry and look, that's Su Yen." At this moment, the expressions of the disciples gathered in the core region were brilliant. The Empress and the others were about to come out of seclusion, raising a heaven-overflowing storm. A large group of Ingjie from the Immortal Cave walked out of the mountain gate. This was the first time they saw the true appearance of this generation's heaven's equal sage king, who dominated the first mountain. Several dozen young geniuses gathered together. Most of them were watching coldly from the sidelines. There were also some who felt pity for Su Yan. After all, this was the best opportunity for him to make a name for himself. One had to bear in mind that once the ranking was set, they might not necessarily participate in the battle. Over the years, once the Immortal Cave set the ranking of the 10 great war gods, this was a layer of gold that couldn't be ignored for Su Yan. The Sky Dipper King lowered his head slightly. The matter of him following Su Yan had caused quite a stir in the core region. There were some familiar faces in the group of people who were paying attention to them. The Sky Dipper King felt like he couldn't raise his head high. Sky Dipper King, you're going to leave without saying goodbye? A purple-clothed man walked over with his hands behind his back. His divine might was boundless. A rain of purple light scattered down from his body, illuminating an expanse of black mountains and rivers. It was grand and spectacular. King of Tianshan, I still have urgent matters to attend to. The Sky Dipper King's blood was boiling. Su Yan was going to find the Tenrai of Beach, directly going to fight head-on. Once the two great heroes clashed, it would be a great matter that would shake up the entire Immortal Cave. Who was stronger and who was weaker, it would be clear soon. After all, Immortal Elder Academy had just set the ranking. Su Yan was going to challenge the Tenrai of Beach. Wasn't this clearly declaring that he had completely shed all pretense of cordiality with Thunder Immortal Elder? It was even challenging Immortal Elder Academy's authority. What urgent matters could you possibly have? A hint of mockery flashed past the depths of the Sky Dipper King's eyes. His figure was tall and straight, a group of mountains vaguely appearing behind him. Great peaks rumbled, bringing with them tremendous divine might as they swept over, covering this region. He coldly shouted, "Traitor! What did you say?" The Sky Dipper King's expression changed in anger, his eyes widening, his chest rising and falling intensely. This Sky Dipper King had some friendly relations with him, but he never expected this person to use such unpleasant words to humiliate him. Why is there a need to get angry? I am merely stating a fact. The Sky Dipper King's expression was cold, saying with mockery, "As the pride of heaven of Immortal World, as Immortal Cave Xingjia, you actually follow someone from the lower realm. You really can win glory for Immortal World." It was to the extent where the Sky Dipper King also blocked Su Yan's path, similarly not giving him a look. He looked down slightly at the Sky Dipper King, saying with a sneer, "I think you can cancel your title of King of this world. I suggest you leave Immortal Cave as soon as possible. We don't raise idle people here." These words were actually for Su Yan to hear. "Get out of my way, dog." Su Yan's expression was cold. In order to suppress him, Thunder Immortal Elder really used all kinds of methods, such as summoning the princess and the others to naturally take away Su Yan's spot. However, if they were all heroes like the Sky Dipper King and the others, Su Yan wouldn't say a word. However, on the top 10 list, only the Tenrai of Beach didn't participate in any Immortal Demon War. How could he replace his spot? The Sky Dipper King's expression changed in anger, his eyes shooting out flames. He pointed at Su Yan and yelled, "Who are you talking about? Get out!" Su Yan yelled angrily. With a ball of fire in his heart, he raised his hand and slapped at the Sky Dipper King. The Sky Dipper King laughed excitedly. The Sky Dipper King was digging his own grave. "Bastard Su Yan, you are too arrogant." The Sky Dipper King rose from the ground. Black mountains appeared behind him, filled with suffocating pressure. There were millions of mountains rumbling, and the momentum was vast. "Su Yan, he's too arrogant." He directly attacked the Sky Dipper King. Does he really think he can defeat everyone in the Immortal Cave? A group of people shouted, cheering for the Sky Dipper King. "This is the Heaven and Earth Heaven Seal, a first-class divine power of the Immortal Cave." The Sky Dipper King was different. He had set his sights on the path of body cultivation and had walked all the way. It was a pity that he hadn't mastered a supreme technique. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been defeated by Su Yan. Suppress. The Sky Dipper King roared. He instantly unleashed his strongest combat power. Millions of black mountains lined up in the sky, filling heaven and earth. At this moment, he was as cold as the Overlord of heaven and earth. He controlled the great Tao of heaven and earth. He was like a peerless emperor, emitting a terrifying tide. Boom! The millions of mountains resonated, and their power was extremely strong. With a majestic might that could deter the world, they pressed down on Su Yan from all directions. Boom! Su Yan's flesh shell was golden and blazing. His dormant qi and blood spread out. A dragon's roar resounded in his flesh and blood, causing his qi and blood to churn. Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind. He was like a peerless war god who had broken the shackles. Blood soared into the sky. What? Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique. The expressions of the dozens of geniuses in the core area changed drastically. Their eyes were stinging. Su Yan's golden body was too dazzling. The moment it was awakened, 100,000 tsunamis rushed out through his pores, instantly shaking heaven and earth. Oh my God, the saints trembled. They felt a great divine might that filled every inch of space and time, filled with endless power. Many people couldn't believe it. This was the Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique, and it was the second level of the killing divine art. Once it exploded, the golden tsunamis reached the sky, collapsing the heaven and earth heaven-wind seal. These people's faces stiffened and they couldn't say a word. How long had he cultivated it? Boom! Su Yan's aura swallowed the starry sky. He was like a divine devil heavenly venerable pouncing on the universe. The golden tsunamis rushed out of his pores like endless burning suns. They could easily destroy heaven and earth. Ah! The king of Tianshan screamed and spat out blood. His body was bombarded by endless power again. This was power that could kill a true dragon. His skin and flesh were lacerated, and he was about to shatter. How dare a piece of trash like you attack me? Get lost. Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind. The golden tsunamis in his body surged violently. They were so terrifying that the heavens and the starry sky trembled. No! The king of Tianshan wailed. He was about to be crushed by Su Yan's roar and turned into bloodlight. His eyes were filled with fear. This was a peerless expert. His divine might couldn't be blasphemed. Anyone who touched him would die. Everyone was stunned. What kind of monster was this? The king of Tianshan, who was severely injured, was torn apart by the roar. How could he survive? Tenrai of Beach, get out here! Su Yan dominated the sky. A golden heavenly dragon rushed out from the top of his head. It was 100,000 feet long and roared in the starry sky. The hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the distance rumbled and shook. It pounced on the Tenrai of Beach. Chapter 1950. The dragon roamed the world, dominating the world. The golden sky dragon's body was intimidating. Its dragon might shook the heavens, and its body was 100,000 feet long. It spat out clouds and mist, and its divine might was vast. The king of Tianshan, whose body was already in pieces, cried out in despair. What kind of monster was this? Didn't he just enter the Technique Inheritance Hall 2 days ago? He actually cultivated the Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique. The geniuses who had originally belittled Su Yan were also frightened. They found it hard to imagine that this was the power of a Daesong. The king of Tianshan was about to die. His body was crippled, and his body was in pieces. The Supreme Dragon Wrestling Technique was a matchless body art. Even though Su Yan hadn't touched the 3rd level yet, he had already used 2 levels to cultivate it. However, just by relying on the 2nd layer of the Supreme Fighting Dragon Technique, he was able to unleash a murderous aura. The golden dragon body pounced forward, as if a prehistoric monster had just been born, charging towards the place where the heavenly Thunder King was cultivating. Heavens! They were incredibly alarmed. What was this vicious person trying to do? He challenged the Tenrai of Beach, and directly came knocking on his door. This was a serious protest against the 10 great war gods set by the immortal Elder Academy. He would speak with his strength. Domineering, too domineering. The Tiangang king was excited. He felt that following Su Yan was the right decision. He cultivated the supreme dragon wrestling technique in 2 days. What kind of talent was this? It was simply unimaginable, as expected of a peak talent who walked the path of body cultivation. Roar, dragon roars rang out, and the heaviness was like thunder that filled the sky. The 100,000 feet long dragon charged toward its destination. The world trembled. Lightning radiance surged. It was clear that an intense energy fluctuation had taken place. The effects were great. Just as the golden sky dragon was about to charge toward a giant silver mountain, it shone and went berserk. Boom! The sky was filled with lightning symbols. The giant silver mountain changed, turning into a lightning abyss. Resplendent lightning symbols flickered. It was so terrifying that it had to be traced back to the origin of the lightning path. This golden sky dragon was almost instantly blasted into pieces. Moreover, the lightning mountain continued to operate, spewing out a terrifying source, making the stars in the sky about to explode. One had to know that the resplendent star regions where the Emperor's stars rose and fell all contained the protection of immortal king orders. Now that the lightning mountain shook the world, one could imagine just how powerful its divine might was. Who is attacking the innate lightning cavern? Many experts cried out in alarm. This was the Emperor Star's unmatched cave, one that belonged exclusively to Thunder Immortal Elder's bloodline, as well as a forbidden land. There was also silent silver lightning that was awakening, wishing to release millions and millions of lightning bolts. Who is this kid? Large amounts of experts walked out from Emperor Star's mountain gate. There were also many enforcers and attendants from Immortal Elder Academy. There were even some immortal elders who were alarmed. Get out here! Su Yan was majestic and overbearing. His body was golden and dazzling, like an immortal sun in the sky. He had a domineering aura and stood between the heavens and the earth. He roared, "Thunder King, stop hiding. Come out." Su Yan's roar was like thunder. Even his flesh and blood erupted, and an azure dragon rushed out from the top of his head. It lay between heaven and earth, as if it was going to pierce through the heavens. The older generation's faces were filled with shock. A Daesong was actually able to emit such a terrifying manifestation of a human body. Some people suspected that the Heavenly Power King had come out of seclusion, but just what had made him so angry? King of Tianshan, who did this? Quick, the King of Tianshan is about to fall. A large group of elders rushed over and saw the King of Tianshan in pieces, about to die. The surrounding people were frightened, almost dying. Could it be that Su Yan was really so terrifying that he stood at the peak of his generation? Someone came to report. The group of elders were shocked. It was Su Yan who did it. This person was now going to fight the Tenrai of Beach. Interesting. Su Yan, heaven's equal Saint King. An extremely old man's heart was in turmoil. How many eras had passed? The immortal cave rarely produced such an invincible overlord anymore. He even dared to barge into Thunder Immortal Elder's unmatched cave. One had to admit that this person had the belief of being invincible. Bastard, who dares to behave so atrociously here? A large group of experts rushed out from the mountains near the innate lightning cavern. They were all shocked and furious. They all glared at Su Yan. Who gave this Daesong the guts? Su Yan, how dare you? Are you rebelling? An old man with silver hair said with a gloomy face. So what if I'm rebelling? Su Yan's black hair fluttered in the wind. His essence, chi, and spirit shot to the sky. He stepped in the void and shouted coldly, "Tell the Tenrai of Beach to come out. He's just a piece of trash who climbed the first mountain. What right does he have to replace me in the war of deities and demons?" His words were like thunder, shaking 10 square world. Many people were dumbfounded. They didn't expect Su Yen to come here directly and call the Tenrai of Beach a piece of trash. You're full of nonsense. I think you really want to rebel. You don't deserve to be on the same level as the Tenrai of Beach. This bloodline's experts were furious. Calling the Tenrai of Beach a piece of trash? This made them all go crazy. There were even some who directly stood out to suppress Su Yen. This old one surpassed the Tenrai of Beach and dominated the first mountain. Who doesn't know this? Who doesn't know this? Su Yan's words were like thunder, sweeping through the mountains and rivers. He shouted coldly, "What right does the Tenrai of Beach have to compete with me? What right does he have to replace me? Is the document Immortal Elder Academy gave a piece of empty paper? You must give me an explanation today." Su Yen brought out the domain-suppressing furnace in his fury. This immortal king weapon erupted, almost unable to hold itself back from attacking the innate lightning cavern. Give you an explanation? Who do you think you are? You dare question Immortal Elder Academy's decision? The silver-haired elder was furious. He was Lei Hongbao, someone who also held an important position in Immortal Elder Academy. He mocked, "The 10 great competitors have already been determined. Not giving you a spot means that you're not good enough. Why are you still causing trouble here? Do you even have the qualifications?" "You don't need to know if I have the qualifications or not. Just tell the Tenrai of Beach to get the hell out here." Su Yan's aura devoured rivers and mountains, his heroic bearing blazing. Cold lightning shot out from his pupils, directly declaring war. "What a youngster, your tone really is arrogant. Do you think you can challenge him just because you want to? The Tenrai of Beach is currently in seclusion. He doesn't have the time to pay you any attention." Lei Hongbao's expression was furious. Su Yen actually dared to challenge the Tenrai of Beach? Where exactly did he get the confidence from? "What do you mean he doesn't have the time?" The old monkey stood out and said coldly, "Several years ago, Immortal Elder Academy gave out a document stating that the top 3 of the first mountain could participate in the Immortal Devil Great Battle. Su Yen came out first, so even if Immortal Elder Academy doesn't recognize the document, what does the Tenrai of Beach count for?" Immortal Cave erupted into chaos. Some people agreed with the old monkey's words. After all, Su Yen should be given an explanation for this matter. A battle wasn't a big deal. I knew you guys would back him up. Otherwise, Su Yen wouldn't dare to behave so atrociously here. Lei Hongbao's expression was cold. He looked at the old monkey and quickly calmed down. He said proudly, "When the Tenrai of Beach ascended the mountain, he didn't stand at the peak of Daesong. After all, the Tenrai of Beach had just finished his Tao demonstration and started to recultivate from the first heaven of Daesong. Is this answer enough? Why don't you just brag that the Tenrai of Beach went to the first mountain from the first heaven of Daesong?" Baokai said angrily. This old thing didn't even point out the Tenrai of Beach's cultivation. What a joke! Are you deaf? Lei Hongbao shouted angrily. Is the Tao demonstration not enough? Look at the entire Immortal Cave. How many heavenly talents and overlords have performed Tao demonstration? But the Tenrai of Beach performed Tao demonstration. Could it be that he can't compare to Su Yen? Of course. Lei Hongbao said disdainfully. You guys don't know what Tao demonstration is either. Some of the terrifying creatures in the surroundings fell silent. When the Immortal Elder Institute was deciding the final quota, they were also hesitant. After all, if they gave the Tenrai of Beach the spot, Su Yen would definitely be disappointed. However, if they gave it to Su Yen, the Thunder Immortal Elder wouldn't be happy. In the end, the Thunder Immortal Elder said that the Tenrai of Beach performed Tao demonstration and directly announced that this legend was true. It was because of this that they directly gave the Tenrai of Beach the quota and treated him as a main member. After all, Tao demonstration was too difficult. There was a saying that was correct. The number of people who could reach this step in the Immortal Cave could be counted with one's fingers. Boom! Su Yen stepped on the sky. His entire body emitted a bone-chilling coldness. He said angrily, "Old thing, stop blabbering here. We'll know how strong the Tenrai of Beach is after we fight. Don't boast too much when the time comes." "Junior, you are too rude." Lei Hongbao was so angry that his face turned ashen. His aura went berserk as he said angrily, "I've said it before. The Tenrai of Beach's cultivation has reached a critical juncture. He must stand at the peak of Daesong before the immortal demon Great War starts and face the experts of the Dark World. How can I let your little selfishness ruin the immortal world's most important matter?" "Ridiculous. Why don't you guys say that the Tenrai of Beach is already unrivaled under the heavens? Without him, the immortal world will definitely lose in the immortal demon Great War." Su Yen was furious. A mere Tenrai of Beach was already so terrifying that it affected the immortal demon Great War? "Su Yen, can you shut up?" A hot-tempered expert of the Tenrai of Beach stood up and reprimanded, "If it weren't for the Tenrai of Beach's seclusion, you wouldn't be allowed to behave so atrociously here. After all, this concerns the immortal demon Great War. How can you ruin it just to satisfy your selfishness? This is ridiculous. I, Su Yen, risked my life to participate in the immortal demon Great War, and now I have my own selfishness." Su Yen looked up and laughed angrily. "What first mountain? What rules? It's just a joke. How dare you?" a series of experts roared. They were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. Some of the immortal elders frowned. If Su Yan's words were to spread, it would have a great impact on the immortal cave. However, Su Yen had reason and evidence, and they could not refute him. The Chaos Immortal Elder came and said calmly, "Su Yen has suffered too much. It's reasonable for the Tenrai of Beach to stand up and give an explanation. If you think Su Yen is not qualified, I'll go and ask him to come out of seclusion." No, Lei Hongbao was anxious. He naturally did not dare to ignore the Chaos Immortal Elder. He had already sworn that the Tenrai of Beach was really in seclusion and had reached the most critical moment of his cultivation. He could not be disturbed. If that's the case. The Chaos Immortal Elder looked at Su Yen and sighed in his heart. He said, "The challenge is set for half a year later. There's still a year before the immortal demon Great War begins. Su Yen, what do you think?" Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind and his eyes were cold. He was angry. He could not wait. The next year was very important to him, and he could not be affected by any factors. "Not bad, Su Yen. Wait for half a year. By then, you'll be convinced of your defeat. How can the Tenrai of Beach avoid the challenge? That's the biggest joke in the world. Su Yen, you're too narrow-minded. After all, it's related to the immortal demon Great War. If you're not strong enough, you'll only embarrass the immortal world." Lei Hongbao's expression was cold. He said, "Su Yen, you're from the human world. Most likely, you haven't come into contact with many peerless supreme technique. I think you should use the remaining time to cultivate diligently. Try to master a supreme technique that can control the situation before you fight with the Tenrai of Beach." His words were full of disdain. He looked down on the human world. Even during the strongest era of the burial cave, he did not think that it could be compared to the immortal cave. "Shut up." The Chaos Immortal Elder was a little angry. These people were so overbearing. Did they really think that the Tenrai of Beach was invincible? Baokai was so angry that his whole body was shaking. He wanted to say that Su Yen had also finished his Dao demonstration and even broke through the ultimate trial ground. How could the little Tenrai of Beach be on par with him? The surroundings were quiet. Su Yen left, but his murderous aura did not dissipate at all. It was still so strong and terrifying, causing the world to turn red. Lei Hongbao smiled coldly. With Su Yen in such a state, it would be difficult for him to cultivate in peace, let alone comprehend supreme techniques. What is he doing? Some people were stunned as they saw Su Yen increasing his speed. Celestial Dragon World. He's going to the Celestial Dragon World, someone exclaimed. This was one of the most difficult checkpoints in the Immortal Cave, and Su Yen had passed through it directly. The Tiandao King also came. He looked from afar for a while, shook his head, and said, "He's just asking for humiliation. It seems that this person from the lower realm is eager to be recognized by the Immortal World's experts." FPZW. Chapter 1951. The Holy Maiden's clothes fluttered in the wind, holy and otherworldly. She frowned slightly, feeling a little uncomfortable with Heavenly Tao King's lower realm title. Although the human realm couldn't do much in the three realms and could be called a lower realm, it was actually a type of contempt and belittlement. What Heavenly Tao King didn't know was that the destruction of the human realm was a heavy blow to the immortal realm. She stared at Su Yan's disappearing figure, really hoping that he could break through and prove his strength. Celestial Dragon Realm's 10 Great True Dragons. Heavenly Tao King thought back to when he roamed around back then. It could be said that he suffered a lot. He shook his head and said, breaking through in this state and situation, once he fails, he is destined to become a laughingstock. At that time, Su Yen won't have the face to stay in Immortal Cave. Junior sister, I think you should persuade him. Even if Su Yen really breaks through, Immortal Elder Academy won't continue the ranking for a third time. Heavenly Tao King, Su Yen isn't as bad as you think. Back then, in the human realm, he reigned supreme in the Emperor Road, rising up in a short 100 years. His growth history is astonishing. The Holy Maiden spoke up for Su Yen. She also understood a bit about Su Yan's temper. Since he couldn't bear it anymore, why should he? She was looking forward to Su Yen pushing down the Tenrai of Beach's ranking in Celestial Dragon Realm. Heavenly Tao King snorted. Lower realm? Emperor Road? What kind of genius could walk out of the human realm that had already become a ruined land? Could the Earth Overlord still turn the tide when he ascended to the immortal realm and maintain his glorious achievements in the lower realm? How was this possible? The fastest record holder in Celestial Dragon Realm was the Empress. She only used a day. This record was very frightening, no one could break it for a long time. Back then, even the Heavenly Dragon Lady broke through it. In terms of time, she was a bit slower than the Empress, but the difference was extremely limited. Under normal circumstances, breaking through Celestial Dragon Realm was already very impressive, let alone breaking the record. Moreover, the Empress record had been left behind for a long time, and no one could break it until now. This was enough to prove the height that the Empress and the others were at. It was too glorious. When the Tiandao monarch saw how worried the Holy Maiden was, his face darkened. The relationship between Su Yen and her was not simple. The Heavenly Tao King could not tolerate this. His gaze was slightly cold, and he felt that his head was turning green. Su Yen, there is a chance of death in this trial. You have to think carefully. The green-robed old man who was in charge of maintaining the Celestial Dragon Realm warned Su Yen that he only had 3 days. Once the time was up, even if he passed the trial, he would be listed as a failure. Su Yan's gaze was fixed on a huge stone tablet, which was filled with densely packed names. The time limit of the Celestial Dragon Realm was too harsh. Many geniuses of the deity's grotto in the past had made it through but failed because the time was up. However, even if he failed, his name was still qualified to be listed on the Celestial Dragon Realm's stone tablet, and Tiangang King was no exception. There were at least 100,000 names on it. One could imagine how many people with powerful physical bodies the deity's grotto had absorbed over the years. Only the most dazzling names on the stone tablet were for people like the Holy Maiden. Su Yen even saw the barbarian god, who was ranked 3rd. However, this was not the barbarian god of this generation from the wild wilderness's monarch race. He should be a legendary overlord of the race, who had opened a battle to become a monarch. The Holy Maiden, Heavenly Dragon Maiden, and Barbarian God, these 3 experts were the strongest in the deity's grotto. Their rankings were not far apart, only an hour apart. Su Yan's heart skipped a beat. From this, one could naturally see the degree of transcendence of the number one mountain under the heavens. These three should have all broken through the ultimate land of trials. Like Su Yan, they had all embarked on the path of body cultivators and unearthed the great treasures of the physical body. He really went. He's really not afraid of losing. Of course not. Su Yan's strength is obvious to all. Tiangang King and Tianshan King lost miserably. They could not even force him to use his battle strength. This person will not have much difficulty in breaking through the celestial dragon realm. But after all, it's his first time going there. He has no experience. Back then, the Xian people's Tianwu king went through more than 10 times before he passed. Many people were alarmed. What was his goal? To demonstrate? The celestial dragon realm was not a bone to chew. Once he was defeated, he would not be able to raise his head for the rest of his life. After all, he had challenged the Tenrai of Beach with great fanfare. If he could not even pass the celestial dragon realm, then it would be a joke. The top 10 war god list, any one of them had passed the deity's grotto's strongest land of trials. Not only the celestial dragon realm, but also other land of trials. Chaos Immortal Elder understood Su Yan's intention. This was to break the Tenrai of Beach's record. At this time, he would not choose to remain silent. Let's wait and see. It's a pity that the Tenrai of Beach is in seclusion. Otherwise, we would be able to witness the pinnacle battle. The student surpasses the master. Su Yan's strength is beyond our Daesong domain. I hope he can go further in the future. Phoenix King and Old Monkey laugh. If Su Yan, who had passed the ultimate land of trials, really went to challenge it, would he break through the heavens? Remember to inform me of the result. Some of the blurry immortal elders gradually dispersed, leaving behind a sentence. They also wanted to know how strong Su Yan was, and how many days it would take for him to pass. Understood. Many disciples of the deity's grotto quickly nodded. They did not expect that some of the immortal elders were paying attention to Su Yan. Su Yan's expression was cold. His black hair draped over his shoulders. He had already stepped into an ancient world. This world had a strong aura of desolation. In front of him, huge dragon pillars stood between heaven and earth. The colors were all different, one after another. They were like giant pillars that supported the heavens. They were filled with ancient dragon might. On each of the giant pillars, there was a true dragon lying down. If it was a living creature, it emitted an ancient ferocious aura, faintly accompanied by a terrifying roar. Su Yan strode forward. The true dragons lying on each of the dragon pillars were all at the peak of Daesong level. Their bodies were invincible, and once one stepped into this world, only the body could be used. Magic power and primordial spirit were directly restrained. One could only rely on their own body to roam the celestial dragon world. Boom! One of the green pillars rumbled fiercely, and a dragon's roar shook the sky. A thick green dragon suddenly came back to life, and opened its ancient eyes. It emitted a vast dragon's might, and affected the whole world to tremble. To pass the celestial dragon world, one had to defeat the true dragons lying on the giant pillars. There were a total of 10 true dragons, and the time limit was only 3 days. This was exceptionally difficult. Human die, the green dragon roared, emitting a terrifying dragon might. It was as if it had a real body of flesh and blood. It crushed space and time, causing it to tremble. A dragon, as if it was a living dragon. Their heads were enormous like mountain ridges, and the green horns on their foreheads were capable of easily tearing apart a person's flesh and blood. The green scales that covered their entire bodies emitted clanging sounds as they emanated waves of terrifying phenomena, and it was like a boundless green ocean was pressing down towards them. This is the celestial dragon world. 10 true dragons. Once you defeat them, you can pass the level. Once you pass the level, you can get 1,000,000 points. Su Yan's eyes blazed. He believed that the situation of the other trial grounds was similar to the celestial dragon world. The reward of points was huge. Similarly, passing the level would also allow one to cultivate an unparalleled inheritance. Su Yan's clothes fluttered like thunder. His body was golden and resplendent. He who was in the first stage of the supreme fighting dragon technique was like a golden god of war that stood between heaven and earth, looking down on the world. The huge green dragon roared angrily as it charged over. Its majestic and huge dragon body glowed, emitting a vast blue ocean that washed the heavens and the earth. It could easily crush the universe as it suddenly pressed towards Su Yan. Su Yan's body rose from the ground. It was as if he had turned into a golden star. He traversed the sky and rushed in front of the green dragon. Boom! In an instant, the sky fell and the earth cracked. Sand and stones flew everywhere. Energy ripples overflowed the sky. The blue sea of the 9 heavens seemed to have been hit by the Emperor's star. It collapsed in an instant. A golden tsunami rose up from within, accompanied by the power of the dragons. Kill! Su Yan roared. His moves were wide open as he pressed forward. Su Yan released his peak state. One could imagine how powerful he was. Heaven and earth trembled with a raise of his hand. He directly rushed in front of the green dragon and engaged in close combat. This kind of battle was world-shaking. The dragon's body was extremely strong and invincible. There was a rain of energy everywhere. Accompanied by a deafening loud noise, Su Yan waved his palm and fingers to resist the green dragon's power. You're only SOSO. After a short test, Su Yan's body of flesh and blood became even more blazing. He was like a human emperor that had existed since ancient times. He swept through the world and swallowed the world. Su Yan directly fought the green dragon head-on. In Su Yan's berserk state, he emitted a boundless vicious aura. It was even more terrifying than a celestial venerable. He erupted with endless power. Su Yan's fist imprints were too shocking. Every punch drew blood. On the green dragon's huge body, bloody fist imprints appeared one after another. It could be seen how terrifying and extraordinary his body was. The green dragon wailed. Its huge body trembled violently from Su Yan's punches. Large patches of green scales collapsed. You can't do it. Su Yan's black hair danced like a waterfall. Every strand of hair cut through the void. His entire body burned with golden flames and was filled with a power that could destroy heaven and earth. He waved his fist imprints. This attack was peerless. Invincible fighting strength erupted. With a bang, the green dragon's body bent. Roar! The blood-stained green dragon roared in pain. Then, it struggled with all its might because its huge head was grabbed by Su Yan. However, no matter how much it struggled and resisted, it could not break free from Su Yan's confinement power. Rise for me! Su Yan roared at the sky. His strength was boundless. In the state of the supreme dragon seizing technique, his palm grabbed the dragon's horn, causing its entire body to sway. It was as if he was using it as a green whip to dance. A great saint of the human race had lifted an azure dragon high up in the air. This was a shocking scene. If this was seen by the outside world, they would be shocked. This was the green dragon with an invincible body. However, in front of Su Yan, who was the real dragon, Su Yan's strength was endless. His arms glowed at the same time and shattered the void. Boom! The entire dragon's body was dancing under Su Yan's control. It was hard to imagine how terrifying his strength was. He smashed it solidly into the 10 pillars that supported the sky. The green dragon wailed. A section of its dragon horn was broken. Large pieces of scales fell from its body. The 10 dragon pillars trembled violently. Boom! The heavens and earth changed drastically. Violent winds howled, ghosts cried, and gods howled. True dragons rushed out of the dragon pillars one after another. There was a huge black dragon that was as black as ink, a crimson-red dragon that was rolling about, and there was also a resplendent 5-clawed golden dragon, this lunatic, the expression of the deacon guarding the trial ground changed. His heart was out of control. He said with a trembling voice, "Looks like this is his first time going to the celestial dragon realm. This kid is going to be unlucky. Once he is killed, it will not be a small matter. This is 10 dragons coming out at the same time." Roar, roar! 9 dragons came out. Together with the injured green dragon, they roared. This was a shocking scene. 10 real dragons broke through the clouds at the same time and reached the peak of the sky. They emitted a terrifying dragon's aura that wanted to destroy the world. It was like the world-destroying celestial dragon diagram. 10 dragons covered the sky. Who could compete with them? "Come at me! I want to fight 10 of you!" Su Yen roared. He was filled with boundless dominance. He released his peak fighting strength. The dormant golden blood leaked out and flooded the entire celestial dragon realm. His fighting strength was unparalleled.